We asked 5 women to put our number 7 Protect and Perfect Intense Advanced Serum to the test to see if they'd notice any difference to the appearance of their lines and wrinkles. 1 year later, we wanted to know if they were still noticing a difference.
I've used the serum for a whole year now. This whole area is much smoother.
I think my skin looks far more amazing after a year, definitely.
My confidence is through the roof.
Number 7 Protect and Perfect Intense Advanced Serum, clinically proven to reduce the appearance of wrinkles, with even better results over time.
Belvita breakfast is great for work.
There's a dream I feel. There's a dream I feel, so rare, so real. All the world in yawning on, the world is one, gathering together. One mind, There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in yawning on, the world is one, gathering together, one mind, one heart. Every creed, every color, once joined, never apart. Searching for the best in me, I will find. Never apart. If I wish. Searching for the. There's a winner in our soul. It's the world in union. The world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. We face high mountains must cross, rough seas. We must take a place in history and live with dignity. Just to be the best I can sets the goal for every man. If I win, lose or draw, it's a victory for all. It's the world in union. The world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. It's the world in union. The world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in yawning on, the world is one, gathering together, one mind, best I can. Sets the goal for every man. If I win, lose or draw, it's a victory for all. It's the world in union. The world as one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. It's the world in union. The world as one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in union, the world as one, gathering together, one mind, one heart. Every creed, every color, one stripe never apart. Searching for the best in me, I will find what I can be. If I win, lose or draw, there's a winner in us all. It's the world in union. The world as one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. We face high mountains must cross, rough seas we must take, a place in history, and live with dignity. Just to be the best I can, sets the goal for every man. If I win, lose or draw, it's a victory for all. It's the world in union. The world as one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. It's the world in union. The world as one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in union. There's a tree I feel so rare, so real. All the world in yawning on, the world is one, gathering together, one mind, one heart. Every creed, every color, one strike, never apart. Searching for the best in me, I will find what I can be. If I win, lose or draw, there's a winner in us all. It's the world in union, the world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. We face our mountains must cross, rough seas. We must take a place in history and live with dignity. Just to be the best I can sets the goal for every man. If I win, lose or draw, it's a victory for all. It's the world in union, the world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. It's the world in union, the world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. There's a tree I feel so rare, so real. All the world in yawning on, the world is one, gathering together, one mind, There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in union, the world is one, gathering together, one mind, one heart. Every creed, every color, once joined, never apart. Searching for the best in me, I will find what I can be. If I win, lose or draw, there's a winner in us all. It's the world in union, the world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. We face high mountains must cross, rough seas we must take, a place in history, and live with dignity. Just to be the best I can sets the goal for every man. If I win, lose or draw, it's a victory for all. It's the world in union, the world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. It's the world in union, the world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in union, the world is one, gathering together, one mind, There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in yawning on, the world is one, gathering together, one mind, one heart. Every creed, every color, one stride, never apart. Searching for the best in me, I will find what I can be. If I win, lose or draw, there's a winner in us all. It's the world in union. The world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. We face our mountains must cross, rough seas we must take, a place in history, and live with dignity. Just to be the best I can sets the goal for every man. If I win, lose or draw, it's a victory for all. It's the world in union. The world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. It's the world in union. The world is one. As we climb to reach our destiny, our new age has begun. There's a tree I feel so red, so real. All the world in yawning on, the world is one, gathering together, one mind,
After beating the All Blacks for the first time in 111 years in Chicago last November, Ireland were being talked up as serious Six Nations contenders. Stuart Hogg and co had other ideas.
It's been a long time in coming.
You're witnessing history. Ireland beat the All Blacks in senior rugby for the first time ever. Ireland caught
cold. Made a lot of mistakes.
The way we started the game cost us.
We were a little bit passive and naive.
We have a bit to step up. We know we have to improve. And we want to build on the good stuff that we've done.
And the green bubble bursts in a wall of sound.
No problems with the bus for Joe Schmidt today. Ireland have arrived on time at the Stadio Olimpico, but skipper Rory Best is out with a stomach bug, so Niall Scannell wins his first cap as replacement hooker. Now, the Italians led here in Rome at half-time against Wales last Sunday before shipping 3 second-half tries and losing 33-7. In fact, their last Six Nations win on home soil was against the Irish in 2013. How Conor O'Shea would love a repeat performance of that. So let's have a look at the two lineups. In Best's absence, Jamie Heaslip captains Ireland. There's still no Johnny Sexton. His calf injury rules him out, with Ulster's Paddy Jackson deputising again. Two changes in the scrum. Cian Healy and Donncha Ryan replaced Jack McGrath and Ian Henderson, respectively. And Italian rugby fans breathed a sigh of relief on Thursday with news that skipper Sergio Parisse was fit to play. 4 changes in all for them, with Giraldini, Favaro and Van Schalkwyk coming into the pack. And Angelo Esposito gets a start on the wing. And kickoff is coming up in just under an hour's time. And joining us in the studio, former Ireland skipper Brian O'Driscoll, alongside Johnny Wilkinson, and a man with Irish and Italian heritage, Lawrence Dallaglio. Good afternoon, one and all. In modern-day sport, Brian, where nothing is left to chance, you shouldn't be late, should you? Ever, whatever the reasons.
No, you shouldn't. I don't know why it's been talked about so much. You know, it's not the sort of excuse that really holds any substance. Professionalism should be able to cope with unforeseen circumstances, and teams have been late before, but I think it was an analogy that they were late in their performance. They never got going. The first half an hour, Ireland were terrible against Scotland. They were exposed a number of times, and you can't give a team a 21 point to 5 lead going in at half time and expect to claw your way back into it.
I mean, you were a man who liked routines, Johnny, weren't you? But you might have possibly. You just have to trim it back a little bit, don't you? It can't be an excuse.
But, do you know what? There is routine, but within that routine, there's always the bits that you can prioritise. You know, if some of it has to go a little bit or be moved around, fine. I used to get there and get the boots on and go out there. 15 minutes for me to get ready, go out and do my session, and then come back in ready to go out again with the boys. So that 15 minutes, if you lose that, you just get changed quicker. You know, just get out there quicker if that's what it means, or just shave it off when you're out there. Just be more precise. But saying that, like Brian said, it was a bit of an analogy for the game itself. It's just the fact that when one person starts getting flustered, it can start to affect others.
I just felt that Ireland, they had so much hope going into that game, a wonderful autumn series, beat the All Blacks, and you just felt away from home. They almost sort of said to Scotland, well, let's see what you've got first, which is always a very dangerous thing to do. And 15, 20 minutes into the game, they suddenly realised they had quite a lot of catching up to do.
It just shows how hard it is for anyone to win a Grand Slam. Obviously 3 out already, and Wales playing England today, so another one goes. It just underlines how difficult it is to beat everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. But it also underlines just how competitive the Six Nations is. It isn't like the Autumn Internationals I used to find kind of followed suit. They kind of were a bit more simple. Six Nations rugby is nothing to do with simple. You turn up with all the best laid plans and soon enough they go out the window and you have to find a way. Six Nations rugby is enormously good for developing teams in that mental strength area, because going up to Murrayfield and playing, as Ireland found out, is not a simple task in any way.
As England will find out with Cardiff today. When we look at the back rows, your area of expertise, with a massively experienced back row for Wales vis-à-vis England, how much of a deciding factor could that be?
Well, it could be, and a lot will depend on how the front five play. You know, the back row is only as good as the front five in front of them, and if England or Wales are going forward, then both back rows will enjoy themselves. Wales, other than Falatau, have picked from full strength. Tipperick and Warburton playing really, really well. England, I mean, let's be honest, Vunipola, Robshaw and Haskell would be the starting back row. So they've had to go with the best available. But they're actually, although they're inexperienced, they're actually quite physical and quite big. And I'm sure if I was in the back row, I'd be taking the front five out for lunch every day this week and just geeing them up and making sure that we're on the front foot, because it's a much easier game when you're going forward.
It's France against Scotland tomorrow. We'll have highlights of that tomorrow night. So if Ireland are going to win the championship, they're going to have to do it the hard way, aren't they? Wales in Cardiff and England and France in Dublin now.
I think they have to look back to it was at the 2013 Six Nations where Wales lost Ireland first up, and they still managed to get the job done. Now that wasn't with any bonus points. You'd have to imagine they're going to come into play this time round. But yeah, I sense that Ireland's worst performance is behind them. You're going to get a reaction here today. And then, do you know what? The Irish public would still lick their lips at the prospect of having an England team come looking for a Grand Slam or looking for a championship in Dublin on Paddy's weekend.
Absolutely, they would. OK, the rugby world was rocked this week by the news that Joos van der Westhuizen had died aged 45 after a long battle with motor neurone disease. He was one of the finest scrum halves the game has seen, was a key part of the legendary South African team who won the 1995 World Cup, and his pass set up Joel Stransky's winning drop goal as the Springboks upset the odds to beat the All Blacks. He played 89 times for his country, he scored 38 tries, and there'll be a moment's silence before the game here today. And you all played against him, you two played against him for England, a rather infamous quarter-final in Paris.
Yeah, there's not a guy, I think, who embodies the values of rugby better than Joos van der Westhuizen. I've said this before, but I couldn't stand playing against him. Just feared. He was so intimidating as an opponent, but then when you looked at him from the outside, you thought so much respect for him for what he did as a player. But then as a person, when I sort of got to know him later on, you then realise that at the base of all that was just a fabulous, fabulous individual as well, who's done so much for the sport, for the game itself, but also for the disease he was suffering as well. To give hope is incredible.
He's the first of that new age nine that you see with Conor Murray, the Mike Phillips, the more aggressive nine at the base, almost an additional forward. All you have to do is look him in the eyes, and he could stare a man down from 50 yards. They were piercing eyes, and if you didn't think you were in for a battle and you caught eye contact with him, just glad we never had to face a haka with him in it.
Yeah. Well, I first came across him when he played for Pretoria University, and he was without doubt the best player on the field. You knew that you'd seen something very, very special. And I think when we play opposition teams, there's always one player you pick out, one or two players. Without doubt, it was always Joos van der Westhuizen, and he was so dangerous to play against, and we all remember him very, very fondly.
Thank you for your memories, gents. Ireland have lost their last 3 matches on the road in the Six Nations. Coach Joe Schmidt will be looking to right that wrong. Here he is with Martin Bayfield.
Well, Joe, first up, the big news that Rory Best isn't fit to play. How does that change the approach to today's game?
It probably doesn't change too much. We're still pretty committed to trying to go out there and put a few things together, probably better than we did at the front end of the game last week. It's a little bit different with personnel. Niall obviously making his test debut, but he's got the addition of Cian Healy next door to him, which is a fair bit of experience, and Tyke Furlong has done really well so far, so that gives us a little bit of confidence, and I'm sure Niall a bit of confidence that he can get out there and hopefully start well and continue in the same vein.
You talk about improvements from last weekend. You're here on time. That's one big improvement. You talk about the importance of a good start. Andy Farrell has gone public saying you've got to rediscover your appetite to defence. Are the stomachs grumbling to make those big hits today?
Yeah, well, I know Besties is grumbling, but I think in his absence, everybody else is we'll make sure that they have the want to get out there and defend and try to defend on the front foot. I think we were passive last week, and particularly in that first 20-25 minutes, and we paid the price. So I don't think we can afford to stand and wait for good teams. And if you stand and wait for Luke McLean or Benvenuti or Venditti or Esposito, any of those guys, they're going to really challenge you, and they get some of their loose forwards running wide, obviously Parite and the like. We can't sit and wait for those guys. We've got to be able to try to meet them on the front foot.
Joe, as always, thanks for your time. Thanks for talking to us. Cheers.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Well, more to come after the break when we'll hear from one Irishman in Rome today hoping for an Italian victory. It's Conor O'Shea.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
I am the master of entertainment. Only I know how to avoid recordings clashing.
Take back control of your entertainment. Record 6 shows whilst watching another recording with the new Virgin TV V6 box.
From the sea, where one walks, many follow. Wherever you run, they will be there.
They're your Royal Marines Commandos. It's a state of mind. You may already have it. Search Royal Marines.
Have you seen what the gaffer's done with his free £30 bet from Betfred? He's gone for a few upsets.
What's he know? What do I know?
Sign up online or on your mobile today and get £30 in free bets when you stake just £10.
We heard you give rewards. We heard you give. Zoinks! The mummy! Need a bandage?
What is left when strategy turns to chaos? When stone shatters? What is left when friends fall one by one around you? What is left but honor?
For Honor. Out February 14th at Asda. PS4 for the players.
Welcome to the Fullback, the new pickup from Fiat Professional. Built for work, built for life. For £199 a month over 2 years, in showrooms now.
Kevin will be the first in his family to go to university. He'll tell you first when he gets his place.
Well done, Kevin.
Amy loves chatting. You'll get her to do it in Spanish. And one day Tamika will teach her own kids about kinetic theory. She'll remember this class, and you. Make a difference to their future and yours. Apply now and you could get a £25,000 tax-free training bursary. Search Get Into Teaching.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Well, it certainly feels like spring has sprung in the Eternal City today on this beautiful afternoon as the fans file into this impressive stadium. And Conor O'Shea has been heavily tipped as a future coach of Ireland, but today he'll be plotting their downfall at the Stadio Olimpico. Gabriel Clark has been with the Italian coach who's been looking forward to this game for months.
Now we work, and now we have to improve everything.
Hard running, ever willing. Ireland nicknamed him Caesar for the haircut. But in the late 90s, a leader was already taking shape.
Because it wasn't very good, I had to think a lot about the game. This is going to be one heck of a challenge. About how people can actually be the best and what it needs to get them there. Stop feeling sorry for ourselves. But always knowing if you don't work hard, you're nothing. With that attitude, we will be the best we can be.
Anything's possible with Conor. That's always a good trait to have.
Now what's possible?
With Italy, anything is possible.
Conor O'Shea's last cap was in 2000.
I'm just going to get a cappuccino.
When Italy entered the Six Nations, amid high hopes.
15th coffee of the day, has to be done.
Last year, his arrival was described as crucial by an Italian federation under real pressure to justify their Six Nations status.
Il miglior squadra nazionale nella storia.
O'Shea's Italianish made a glowing impression with a sudden impact against South Africa.
Everyone needs something to cling on to. To win our first game against the Tri-Nations gives us something really special.
Un risultato straordinario.
History. It's incredible. Abbiamo molto a fare per rugby in Italia.
The challenge is sustained progress. At Harlequins, O'Shea transformed a club's entire culture. Now he must carry out a national salvage mission.
Italy entered the Six Nations in 2000. There was a lot of optimism about them being competitive, at least by now. Why do you think that hasn't happened?
The ironic thing is Italy were more professional in the amateur era than they were in the professional era. Some of the players, I feel for them because they're not treated the way professional rugby players should be treated. There are things that have to change, a lot.
Energy costs you nothing. There's some good youngsters here that are capable of playing against the best in the world, and this is what we need to get out of them, this belief.
The one thing that has most impressed me is the quality of the rugby player, but because everyone tells them they're bad the whole time, they don't believe it.
Which brings us to Einstein and O'Shea's definition of madness.
Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Is it the same old Italy? There's the mental challenge for everybody. We have to change.
It began against Wales last Sunday. O'Shea has encouraged flair in tandem with a powerful set piece. At half-time, Italy led 7-3.
Minute by minute, our discipline. Key, discipline.
But years of losing have instilled a crippling fragility.
We have to learn how to manage the mental moments in matches. When you lose your discipline, when you lose momentum, it's managing those moments and coming out the other side, still in the fight.
To those who look at that Italian result and think they're the same Italy as always, what do you say?
That's somebody's opinion. If I listen to everybody's opinion, I wouldn't be doing this role. This group of players have been playing together for 7 months, and you will see these players will grow.
4 more tough years with a coach of your stature at the helm, and people are going to increase that argument for relegation. Why are Italy in the Six Nations? That's the pressure, if you like, that Italy is now under.
I've always thought that you always be careful what you wish for, because by the time there's any talk about relegation, there could be a different person down the bottom, and then they'll be looking for some help. Abbiamo una grande sfida. We have a big challenge and a responsibility to create a future for the young people.
There's no official deadline, yet a new sense of urgency surrounds Italian rugby. And it's coming from their Irish man at the top.
I was there in the 90s. I was there when the provinces were getting thrashed in Europe. Things change, and we won't need 20 years to catch up. to get to this World Cup. And when we're 7-3 up at half-time against Wales in the World Cup, well, the second half becomes a different kettle of fish.
Within 2 years of us having them, with the club structures and everything that's going to change and how we develop it, we'll be massively competitive.
I see a team that I have a massive amount of hope for. So there'll be some, as I say, tough days, but then hopefully there'll be some beautiful days.
Well, Conor O'Shea's last international as an Ireland player was in the year 2000. It was against England. It was the same day that Brian made his Six Nations debut as well. So we can have a little wander down memory. There's the Caesar haircut, barking out the instructions. And there's the young man making his Six Nations debut. There's the former chorister belting out the national anthem, quite right. And Johnny doing his bit as I think England just about squeezed over the line, didn't they, Brian, that day?
Just about, yeah. That guy ran amok. He's like Steven Gerrard. His haircut hasn't changed in the last 20 years. I wish the same could be said for my own. I had a few mishaps along the way, but...
Interesting that Conor wants to use the blueprint, it seems, of what happened in Ireland at the end of the 90s, beginning of the century, to make the provinces strong, therefore to make the national team strong. He wants to use the same thing, it seems.
Yeah, I think he's got his work cut out. Obviously, the Italian teams have really struggled historically in Europe and even in the Pro 12. I think maybe they could look at the Argentinian model of the Jaguares down there, where they're trying to pack the Super Rugby team full of internationals, and so they get an opportunity to combine as combinations, understanding of what way they want to play the game from a club but international point of view. So I think that's a route that they should really think about going down. Irish provinces, the national team success has absolutely been a result of the back of Leinster and Ulster and Munster managing to go well in Europe, and it does feed into the national team. It feeds confidence and it gets you to play your best rugby out here on the bigger stage.
And he really is trying to learn Italian. I mean, you obviously played in France, you spoke a bit of French anyway, but does it give him a level of authenticity if he can speak to his team in Italian?
It does, but more importantly, it stops the rounding up and rounding down and the assumptions, because that's ultimately when you're under the cosh there and it's in the heat of the battle, you need to know exactly the message. You need to know these things, and you don't get that if you're still, like I said, rounding up, even through a translator. The message is getting moved around. What it does do as well without the language is it forces players to sort of get to know you more by getting closer to you, which is a good thing, but ultimately language-wise, you've got to go there to understand the job you're doing, to understand the people you're working with. You've got to go there, and I love seeing him already sort of talking from his heart in a change room afterwards, and that will mean a hell of a lot to the guys who are there and accepting him as their leader.
Interesting, he said they have to end the negative cycle. If you're told you're rubbish all the time, you'll feel rubbish, you'll play rubbish. And the stats as well, people say it's a cliche. They're a 50-minute team, Lawrence. They concede twice as many points in the second half as the first.
Italians obviously very passionate. They like to be loved and cared and thought about, and I think maybe in the past they've not necessarily had coaches that are very positive. What I can tell you about Conor O'Shea is you will not find a more positive person. He'll go and really embrace the players and put an arm around them and talk them up. Things in Italy are chaotic. It's not a particularly well organised country. Things don't work easily, and what he will bring is real structure and rigour to that. And in the short term, they've got to sort out their defence, which is why he's brought Brendan Venter in. They're leaking far too many points. Their fitness levels, their defence and their discipline are the three things that they really have to work on throughout this championship.
And while Georgia are just ahead of them in the world rankings, it's even more important than that, isn't it? Sir Clive was with us last week saying, why not have a relegation playoff match at the end of every season between, at the moment it would always be Italy and whoever it is, Georgia at the moment.
Yeah, that seems to be talked about a lot. A couple of years ago, it was Scotland at the bottom of the table, and we were questioning where their future was. Maybe France have not had great Six Nations, but I think we've got to be positive and just Italy needs investment. They've got the right coaching structure, and get them playing a bit better and get them more competitive on the field.
Yeah, it's a cycle at the moment where Italy are at the bottom, but the other countries have to be wary. England haven't found themselves at the bottom for quite a number of years, but everyone else has. And if you're bringing relegation into it, everyone goes through that cycle. When you're at the bottom of it, and all of a sudden it's up for relegation for yourself, that could be catastrophic to someone like the Irish Union. So I don't know if it's the answer. Maybe a play-off with someone in a lower tier competition. Maybe that's an option.
I love the idea about Italy having a bit of time to build. I think Conor O'Shea and Mike Catt seem to me to be two guys that are very, very good at challenging people to get deeper about who they think they really are, and that seems to be the message for me, is that Italy, maybe if they are listening to this idea about they're not good enough or whatever, that's sort of becoming the future for them, instead of them realising, of course they're good enough. They beat South Africa, they've beaten loads and loads of countries all over the place. They can do it, so why not do it every time? Why not open that possibility by realising they can choose their future and not allow it to be, and I think relegation might just be that step which pushes them down a route where, again, it's saying you're not good enough for our tier, but I think they very much are.
OK, let's get an Italian perspective on today's game. The former Azzurri skipper Marco Bortolami is pitchside with Maggie Alfonsi and Martin Bayfield.
Yes, and Marco just shifting nervously on his feet, as every former player does on match day. We heard the guys there talking about the future, but let's deal with the here and now. The old Italy, Marco, let Wales off the hook last week. Talking to Brendan Venter out on the pitch, he's saying that Ireland much more multifaceted, much more like the All Blacks. What do Italy have to learn, and learn quickly today?
Well, definitely they have to improve their discipline. I think discipline let us down last week and allowed Wales to control the game in the second half. Definitely Ireland is a different animal than Wales. They will play the ball much more than what Wales did, especially early on. So it's interesting to see if Italy change their tactics. They kick for deep and try to play for territory. And let's see if they try to keep the ball a little bit more.
Connor there in that interview, Maggie's talking about more beautiful days for Italian rugby. To do that, there has to be a change in mindset, a winning mentality. Easier said than done.
A lot easier said than done. I'm a big believer that winning breeds winning. And a majority of his players are playing at Zebra, playing at Chorizo, and they're losing week in, week out. So they're starting to accept losing. I think the key thing for O'Shea is trying to create that winning culture, and that's why people like Brendan Venter are so key, because they instill that belief in the players. It's great at the start of before the start of the game, you see Brendan walking around talking to the players, and he's telling them that you can do this, you're capable of doing this, and that's what they need. But it's not just at the international level; it needs to feed down to the clubs as well.
Something's got to change fairly quickly, but we're talking about Italy on Italy's behalf. Marco, you're Italian, you're a former Italian captain. Tell us, what does Italian rugby need? What does the psyche react to?
Well, first of all, I think Connor needs options in terms of selection. So that comes down to the academy system to produce better players and probably more numbers. On the other side, I think Connor has a big job to change the mentality of the players. You change the mentality only if you work on the things that are not working well off the pitch. So results will come if Connor is able to change the organization of the clubs, of the players off the pitch when they are, in their clubs, when they're working day after day with their coaches. He's around in every club in Italy every week, talking to coaches, managers, players. So he knows what he needs to change these things around, and I think everyone is very positive about him.
Maggie, one thing that will certainly help Italy today is if Ireland have as sluggish a start as they did last weekend. What does Joe Schmidt have to sell to his players to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I think the key thing is coming out of the blocks from the start. In the first 30 minutes, they leaked 3 tries. Andy Farrell has a big job to try and ensure that he can tighten up that defence. So if they can tighten up that defence, slow down Italian ball, I think that will be really key for Ireland, especially in that first half. And then building on that into the second half will be integral for them to get a win today.
OK, well, big pressure on both teams. But as far as Italy are concerned, Mark, they've got to change. They've got to change as soon as possible.
They certainly have. After the break, we'll hear from the Irish skipper, Rory Best, who misses out today because of a stomach bug, but still reflects on that try and how Ireland can put things right.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
I'm the master of entertainment. Only I know how to make your gadgets talk to each other.
Take back control of your entertainment. Stream your recordings on your mobile or tablet with the new Virgin TV V6 box.
An irritating itch is hard to ignore. And it can be caused by your powerful antiperspirants. Introducing new and improved Dove Men Plus Care with 48-hour sweat protection and Dove's 1/4 moisturizer technology. Especially created for men, is tough on sweat, not on skin.
Zoinks! Mommy! Turn left, right now!
Wow! Can I help?
We heard you give rewards to some customers.
That's right. As a reward current account customer, you can get money back from the types of places you like to shop and eat.
Man, that was delicious. Rugby. Yikes! Run, Scoob! Goodbye.
Nice work, guys.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Where are you?
Morning, it's another pure grey morning. Don't know what the day is holding. And I get up right when I walk right into the path of a lightning. Everyone I see just walks the walk with grit and teeth, but I just wait my time. They see you jump on that lightning ball.
Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. At All Protected.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Great to have racing back on ITV.
In sport, anything's possible.
The weather's been keeping us on our toes.
Another big win for Lizzie Kelly.
We've got those emerging stars.
Good morning and welcome to the opening show.
And we're here to find out what goes on behind the scenes.
Nothing replicates the thrill of seeing one of your horses coming into that last fence in the lead.
What about those market movers though? Where's the cash gone?
Finian's Oscar for me.
The Tolworth goes to Finian's Oscar.
Mortified. We won't be able to replace it. If there are jockeys nervous, have you got any acting tips?
Just imagine everybody naked.
Hopefully you're not doing that now with me. Kickstart your Saturday.
Welcome to ITV Racing.
And catch our racing coverage every Saturday, starting with the opening show at 10 and followed by the live action from 1:30. And Ed Chamberlain and the team are at Newbury this afternoon. And it feels very spring-like here. A reminder then, only 4 weeks until the Cheltenham Festival live here on ITV. But it's not been a good week for Rory Best. First, the disappointment of losing against Scotland at Murrayfield, and today he misses out. At least he was able to enjoy the company of David Flatman during the week.
So Rory, you guys built up such a nice amount of momentum leading into the Six Nations, and then sort of the first half an hour in week one against Scotland kind of knocked it out of you a little bit. Yeah. What do you think was missing at the start of the test last week?
We just were very sort of flustered. We arrived at the ground later than normal, a bit of traffic getting there. We took the later time slot, and it was almost like we never recovered from that. It took us really to half time to actually sit down, get a breath and get our composure back. It sounds like an excuse, and it's not. We should be able to, we're professionals, we get everything thrown at us throughout the season, so we should have been able to cope with that better.
Perhaps the biggest sort of freak moment of the game against Scotland last weekend was that line out. How do you kind of analyse that? Is it we've got to be more flexible, lads, or you just write that off as a kind of a freak show?
Yeah, I think we're very disappointed with that, because we talked about their, a 10-man line out, we talked about them doing that, and you know, I was covering the front and Greg Laidlaw, and we talked about putting a bit of pressure in the back. But the big thing is, like you say, you got to be flexible, and we are a team that, you know, we pride ourselves on how adaptable we are, and that probably summed up where we were, and that we were a couple of % off mentally. We wanted to turn the page reasonably quickly, but at the same time we needed to get answers, and we needed to ask ourselves, why did we let that happen?
With the bonus point system now, does the idea that all the other 5 teams have to play against Italy and get bonus point wins, does that enter your mind? Is it a distraction? Because it does become important once you've lost a game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and I suppose this year, if you're going to lose your opening game with the bonus point system, this year more than any gives you a chance to chase your tail a little bit. But it's also important that we don't go there and think that it's helter-skelter rugby trying to get 5 points. We know from last week that we need a bigger splash of emotion than we probably got. You know, we probably let Scotland, they came out and they had more passion than we did. Or certainly they expressed it better than we did. So we need to make sure that we keep the composure, we keep the accuracy. You're playing for your country in the Six Nations, and probably one of, if not the greatest tournament in the world. And you know, if that doesn't stir the juices and get you going, then nothing will. And we can't be afraid to show that, like I say, but keep the control with it.
We want to have a look at Stuart Hogg, who was brilliant last weekend, could well be the Lions fullback, of course. But you actually want to pick out Gary Ringrose as well, and his defensive work in one of these tries.
Yeah, like Gary Ringrose is new to Six Nations rugby, international rugby as well. It's off a 5-man line out. In this instance, he'll learn in time that he can't find himself getting caught in at second defender there. He's got to get himself right out to the extremity, push Keith Earls wider into that 15-metre channel as well. The knock-on effect is that it's a simple missed pass on a two-phase play from Finn Russell. He throws the pass out to Hugh Jones, who then releases Hogg. If we just play that forward, we'll see exactly what I mean by that. That shouldn't happen. A simple miss one, and then Hogg has a 2-on-1. Rob Kearney has to take the last man. It's not his fault.
Is that just inexperience at that level?
Do you know what it is a little bit? He'll learn a lot this week from that and from seeing it again. The big thing is, as a centre, when you go into those circumstances, if you help out your 12, you've got to make it an 8 or 10 second ruck to allow more numbers come around the corner. If you see that the tackle's being affected, there's no place for you to be there. You get out and you need your speed on the wings. So Paddy Jackson ended up lining up with Keith Earls, and that missed pass must have cut out 5 defenders. That's a bit too soft from an Irish perspective.
Interesting that Andy Farrell says they've got to regain their appetite for defence today, the Irish.
Yeah, I think maybe mixing that point with what Brian's saying as well is, even though that happened, he just said they still had 5 guys in there. It was more or less numbered up, and if it's not the right guys in the right places, you should still be dealing with that. Even if you end up having to take 5 or 10 metres backwards, you deal with it, and I think that's the appetite part.
And that's just a spacing point of view, you know. Ideally, you know, the third defender from the ruck should be on first man. I think they were probably looking at fourth being on Finn Russell, and then straight away you're going to be struggling in the wider channels.
Let's have a look at the try. Brilliant try from Scotland. David Flatman described it as a freak try. The Scots may say, hey, we planned this really carefully.
Well, they did, and I think you have to give credit to Scotland. Rory Best talked about being disappointed with the way that they defended that. But it was a premeditated move, and credit to Scotland for 1, planning it, 2, for having the courage to call it 5 yards from the line. They recognised that the way Ireland were defending, they had 2 pods set up very much towards the middle and back of the line out. And you know, it was cute. And Scotland always used to be a team that would come up with little things like that, because they were always deemed to have slightly smaller forwards than perhaps the opposition. I thought it was a really smart try, and to be honest, it was the try that really created serious problems for Ireland, because they had too much to do after that.
But should there be somebody in the Irish pack who's alert, who's savvy enough to smell that? Should there be a leader in that sense?
I don't think it's about leadership. I think that's just brilliant play from Scotland. Rather than think negatively about Ireland's limitations with it, I think it's a hugely positive thing. They've identified it beforehand, and Vern Cotter will love the one-upmanship on his old colleague Joe Schmidt. They were in Claremont together, and I think they out-analysed Ireland in that instance. They wanted to pod the middle and the back, and they saw that there was an opportunity at the front.
And, you know, we talk about Ireland's defensive performance. They actually only missed 9 tackles last week, 95% success rate. The problem is that 3 of those tackles resulted in tries. So, you know, if they're at it right from the start, and they've got that level of intensity, you know, that they needed last week, I'm sure they'll be fine.
I think just on that point, it's just maybe all the stuff was in place, all the energy, but maybe it was just heads down instead of eyes up. And I think that's maybe what the feeling was.
Talk to us about Paddy Jackson today. Another big game for him with Johnny Sexton missing out once more.
Yeah, no, I don't know so much about Paddy other than the fact that I know he works hard at his game and he's very, very excited about getting better. But, you know, Johnny Sexton can't come back. And I know Johnny Sexton is enormously strong in his role there and controlling and directing is brilliant. But if you want another guy to be in the squad as a second or competing and you want him to be great, he needs to face these situations. He needs to face it when maybe people are saying that he hasn't won much when he started. He needs to face people saying, should you or shouldn't you be there? This is all not a journey for whether he is good enough. It's a journey for him to overcome and then own that kind of stature and that aura. And so it's great to see him out there. I think it's tough for him, but this is the beauty of it.
Yeah, I just want to see him play a little bit flatter this week. I think the issues, it was a knock-on effect from not winning collisions last week. They were being smashed in that first half hour, and so they were on the back foot. If Ireland get any momentum with their ball carriers, with Stander and Heaslip and O'Brien getting over the advantage line, he'll have front foot ball, and he's got a nice bag of tricks. He just needs the quality possession to be able to show that.
He's a very different character, isn't he? You were saying off air, you know, Johnny Sexton would shout at his own fullback. I mean, he tells everybody when they do something wrong, doesn't he?
He is, and I suppose Paddy has to grow into the role as a 10, of being a bulgy 10 and ordering everyone around. I think forwards, Lawrence might disagree with me, but they like being told what to do. They like being told where to go. Yeah. And Johnny does that for Ireland. And Paddy just needs to find himself, as Johnny said, in that role a little bit more, be a bit more forceful.
Maybe bonus points today. The Welsh realised once they'd won the game last week, they chased hard to get the fourth try. Didn't quite come off. Could be significant. We don't know how the Six Nations will pan out.
You go out and win the game. You know, they want to do better than Wales did, which means picking up a bonus point here. I think when you lose your opening game in the Six Nations, you always feel under pressure, and you just need a win to stabilise things. So this is a really good game for Ireland. They'll feel like they can get a win, and they'll go out there and try and be as positive as possible.
OK, the Irish have enjoyed their trip to Rome, that's for sure. Plenty of sightseeing going on this morning. But now it's time for the serious business in hand at the Stadio Olimpico. And the teams will be out very shortly.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
How much did you know about Anthony's life?
Nothing.
The wives, girlfriends and daughters of the mob open up like never before.
My father wanted to kill my ex-husband. He
wanted to kill him.
Mafia Women with Trevor McDonald starts Thursday at 9 on ITV.
I am the master of entertainment. Only I know how to avoid recordings clashing.
Take back control of your entertainment. Record 6 shows whilst watching another recording with the new Virgin TV V6 box.
An irritating itch is hard to ignore. And it can be caused by your powerful antiperspirants. Introducing new and improved Dove Men Plus Care with 48-hour sweat protection and Dove's 1/4 moisturizer technology. Especially created for men, is tough on sweat, not on skin.
From the sea.
Where one walks, many follow. Wherever you run,
they will be there.
They're your Royal Marines Commandos. It's a state of mind. You may already have it. Search Royal Marines.
Have you seen what the gaffer's done with his free £30 bet from Betfred? He's gone for a few upsets.
What's he know?
what do I know?
Sign up online or on your mobile today and get £30 in free bets when you stake just £10.
What is left when strategy turns to chaos? When stone shatters? What is left when friends fall one by one around you? What is left but honor?
For Honor. Out February 14th at Asda. PS4 for the players.
We heard you give rewards. We heard you give. Zoinks! The mummy! Need a bandage?
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Kick-off just around the corner. Lawrence Conrochet's looking for them to be better across the board, isn't he? Fitter, better defensively and more disciplined particularly.
Yeah, I think the fitness, they've got to be prepared to suffer, not just for 50 minutes, but for 80 minutes. I think their discipline, 16 penalties they gave away to the Welsh last weekend, that is way, way too many. Sort their discipline out. And their defence, they're leaking and conceding far too many points. They've got to make Ireland work really hard for their points.
And of course they've got an issue with the bench. We saw England's bench last week and how actually it was the deciding factor in many ways against France. By definition, they will struggle when they're off the bench, and they'll continue to struggle as the tournament goes on.
Yeah, you look at that bench, it doesn't look as though they're going to come on and be finishers the way we saw England do so effectively last week against France. So it will progressively get worse. Imagine there'll be a few injuries in the next couple of games, and they more often than not struggle in rounds 4 and 5. So they need to show, as Lawrence said, for 80 minutes and just get develop a bit of spirit that way. And it's a big test for them against an Ireland team that needs a reaction today.
Yep. In really good conditions as well for a bit of running rugby, Johnny.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think what's exciting to me is I think Italy will come off that first game disappointed, I think, after the autumn, and then coming into this game with Mike Catt and Connor and this big resurgence and not quite bringing it. I think that will show today, but I think Ireland will also be saying, as we've seen, that wasn't good enough from us first week, so we want to show that. So seeing that positive, excited, passionate attitude from two teams is going to be great.
And a big day for Niall Scannell, his Test debut at hooker.
Yeah, I think it's always exciting whenever you get your first test, so great opportunity for him, bit of pressure on him, but he'll be thriving in this environment.
Yeah, but you'll be looking for a bonus point win, won't you? I mean, we're into that territory.
I think so. I think Ireland have to now start looking at 6 points after 2 games. I think anything less than that, and they're probably looking at playing for second in the championship.
Yeah, I think Italy just need to get into that 50, 60-minute mark and to still be in the game, to be very, very close. And then they might change the way they play in that last 20 minutes to ensure that they can stay in touch.
OK, let's join our commentary team then. Gordon Darcy, Ben Kay, and first it's Nick Mullins.
Italy, as always, as they have been for so often, led out by the great Sergio Parise, and for Ireland, Jamie Heaslip should have been Rory Best. But as we know, Rory's picked up a bug, given us much time to recover, but he hasn't made it, and thus ends his extraordinary Six Nations run. 52 games in a row, over a decade, before he had to give way to Jamie Heaslip. Rory Best falling just short, therefore, of John Hayes' Ireland record in this championship. He will be watching with the rest of us. Roman rain that came down last Sunday just before the kick-off rather affected the way the game was played, but it remains dry and mild today for an Italy team under new management, under Irish management. Conor O'Shea doing what he can to get inside the heads of players like Sergio Parise. Pull the sport in this country up by its bootlaces, I guess, getting Italian rugby to feel good about itself again. But they were talking realistically yesterday. They know the challenge that Ireland offer, even with a new man at hooker. What a moment for Niall Scannell, the monster, the 24-year-old from Cork, who had 24 hours to get used to the idea that he might be making his Six Nations debut ahead of Rory Best. James Tracy, by the way, has come onto the bench to fill in for Scannell. First of all, some music. As you'd expect, sizable blobs of green amongst the blue in a stadium that holds over 80,000, Stadio Olimpico, and now the home anthem. Conor O'Shea's doing his best to learn the language. He's taking lessons twice a week when he can. I doubt very much, though, he's got the entire chorus of Fratelli d'Italia down to a T just yet. Now, as the music dies away, a moment to reflect on the life of Joos van der Westhuizen, brilliant South African scrum half who died this week at the age of 45. I guess the best number 9 many of us will have ever seen. Those of us who were not old enough to see Gareth Edwards in his pomp. This silence very shortly will be for him, finally succumbed to motor neurone disease. Francois Pienaar was the soul of the Springbok team that created so many stories when they won the World Cup in 1995. Then Joos was the heartbeat, Ireland squad as well took Tuesday off to go to the funeral of Arthur Tanner, hugely popular figure within the game back home, Leinster's doctor for so long, and I dare say one or two Ireland players will find room in their thoughts for Arthur as well, as we all take a moment's pause to remember Just and to remember Arthur. A wonderful, emotional moment, and we all hope for a match to match. Italy against Ireland, not far away now.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Master of entertainment. Only I know how to avoid recordings clashing.
Take back control of your entertainment. Record 6 shows whilst watching another recording with the new Virgin TV V6 box.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Still a minute. Ben Kay and Gordon Darcy sitting alongside us in the commentary box this afternoon. Gordon, what are you looking forward to this afternoon?
As you're saying, it's an interesting game of rugby. Hopefully we're going to see what we saw from the Irish point of view in Scotland. Teams going out looking for tries and trying to score some tries, get some points on the board early.
I think from an Italian perspective, try and match the start they had last week, but continue that. But it was all based around forward power, and then once they got that momentum, it allowed them to get onto the front foot. Some interesting little developments last week, using the mini maul, which they scored a try off. Whether they'll look to have that in their armoury again this week, and how Ireland will defend it.
Referee is Glenn Jackson, player turned referee, coached by Joe Schmidt and Brendan Fenter on opposing sides today. And the kickoff taken safely by Simon Zebo. It is the most wonderful February day in Rome. Drops of rain over the last couple of days, but it feels more like spring than winter. And Zebo has been busy early on, to good effect. This is CJ Stander, top ball carrier against Scotland with 24, and he's up and running already, as is Sean O'Brien. So good for Ireland to have him back in their back row again, and immediately Ireland beginning to poke a few holes through that blue Azzurri defence. Flicked back by Conor Murray, Munsterman, 50th test start for Murray today. And early Irish possession, in the end an early Irish knock-on, and Italy will have the scrum.
Well, the line speed from Italy there to force the turnover was really good. But if you look just slightly wider, and we saw that initial break on the outside, Gordon, if Ireland can get the ball into the wide channels, the line speed's not so good. There are opportunities to take the metres.
Absolutely. I think Ireland have picked up probably from where they finished in Scotland. Showing the endeavour again, coming out of the 22. I know it is a kick. Zebo does incredible in the air to get that ball, and that's the competition that we want. But then they switch into attack, and they're looking to get to those wider channels again. That's potentially where Italy are coming into these new structures, and that's probably the hardest place to defend, and that's where Ireland will try to get the most return from it. But a little bit of inaccuracy there. If you're going wide, you have to be really accurate in the wide channels.
Difficult area this, because the scrum, both sides will feel that they had the advantage last week at this area, so they'll want to put a marker down in the referee's mind that they're on top early on, start getting some of those 50-50 decisions going their way.
It's a very decent early shove from the Irish. Cian Healy on the loose head side. It's been a while since he got the nod ahead of Jack McGrath, but McGrath on the bench today, and he and Scannell and Furlong have started very confidently.
That's a very encouraging sign from Ireland. We had dominance in this area last week as well, but this was a consistent theme for Ireland. Scrum, penalty, kicking to touch. There is huge pressure on the Irish line out to function in these areas.
Just watch the snap of Cian Healy. You can see Cittadini tries to stay straight, but because Cian Healy's underneath him, got him moving backwards, the force of the second row just lifts the Italian tight head up into a really weak position.
Hold, over. Throw for Niall Scannell is a successful one at the start of his Test career, and Robbie Henshaw drives it on. Paddy Jackson, the Ulsterman, still at 10. Now Johnny Sexton again, he's running, but his calf not quite ready to take on Test match challenges just yet. Ball gathered in by Giovan Battista Venditti, the tall, strapping Italian left wing, but they're on defensive mode at the moment until it's eventually fired away off the left boot of Luke McLean. And it'll come back quickly. Eduardo Padovani trying to gather himself underneath it, and he got a second bite at the cherry. Ball was knocked on, so Italy will have the security of the scrum should they need it, but we're still playing the advantage as Parise drove it on. There goes the advantage, and there goes the ball off the right boot of Padovani into the arms of Paddy Jackson. Back to the fly half, who finds Simon Zebo with very little room to manoeuvre, but how well Zebo did, and he was hauled to the floor by Canna.
Leave it, Tin!
Zebo looks sharp right from the off. Here's the captain, Jamie Heaslip.
Excellent. Scrum. Excellent offside.
A little bit of obstruction, players bumping into each other, and again, an Italian scrum.
Interesting from Italy, first two kicks have been looking to keep them in play and challenge Ireland on the counter-attack, and Simon Zebo, a player in form, seeing footwork there, it's something he's so good at. His ability to beat players one-on-one is really a strong point for him.
Interesting Italian selection in the second row today, Ben. They've gone for Marco Fuser, 6'6" of him, who was there last week, but Dries van Schalkwyk is only 6'3", 6'4". They're not the biggest in the air.
Just wonder whether it's a little bit of mobility, almost having like an extra back rower in there to match that wide play that we were talking about just before. Ireland will want to get into those channels. Can they afford to have such a big, heavy pack?
It probably feeds into maybe them keeping the ball in field off the last two kicks, that they're going to challenge themselves defensively. They will saw maybe that Scotland got good inroads from giving the ball to Ireland and just trying to defend them further up the pitch.
Now this a defensive Italian scrum, looking for more of a foothold than they got in the previous one. They're sliding down the mountain, and Parise needed to work very hard to sort that out for them.
He's lost it and he's knocked it on as well, so it's a free shot for Ireland here.
Jackson and Zebo. Now we will come back for the knock-on.
Scrum. Knock-on here.
Parise under real pressure at the base there. Talked about the slightly smaller pack. See, last week they had Stein in the back row as well, who's slightly bigger than Favaro. So they've gone for the mobility, but if they're marching backwards, even someone of the quality and skill level of Parise is going to struggle to retrieve the ball under massive pressure from Conor Murray.
When you're an outside back and you get there's a couple of places where you really want scrums, this is a place where you're kind of going, we can score. It'd be interesting to see the Irish thought process here. Are they going to go for a phase play, or are they going to go and try and score off the first?
Interesting to see Zebo right on the touchline, not giving away what he's going to do. There doesn't seem enough room for him to work in, but is he going to pop inside here?
Well, he's joining the back line now, and he needed to be stopped by Simone Bavaro. And then that ball was lost.
Knock on, 2 knock-ons. First here, 2. And the tackle, scrum.
And this time Ireland will have a scrum in a slightly better position. It's much wider blind side, the shorter left-hand side that perhaps they might be able to engineer something out of. But once again, we're mentioning the name of Simon Zebo at the start of this match.
You want players who are playing on form, playing with confidence. Simon always exudes that confidence, but he's playing really, really good rugby at the moment, and he's beating players. He's carrying for yards, which is really, really important. You can get lost in stats, but he is a guy who carries the ball for a lot of yards in games.
Trying that historic win against New Zealand at Soldier Field in Chicago in the autumn. Set them up for the autumn. First time in 111 years they've beaten the All Blacks. And Zebo looks interested here, but instead they go the other way.
Penalty.
Murray, penalty on the way, you'll have heard. Stander drives it up the middle. Healy to O'Brien. Muscular drive by muscular drive. They're getting closer. That came out a little bit scruffily. It was Favaro on the floor disrupting the pass from Murray, but it's still Ireland trying to press the buttons to look for the key that'll open this Italian door in the first 10 minutes.
It looked like that ball was slapped out of the hands. It's not what the original penalty is given for, but it looked like certainly someone reached over the maul or the ruck and slapped the ball out of Conor Murray's hands there, when Ireland looked like they had a good overlap.
Absolutely, and I think Glenn, he's potentially talking to his touch judges or assistants now. We initially thought that might be a yellow card.
No, it's not.
Pretty cynical, just early in the game, so I'd say he's probably giving them the benefit of it. Of the doubt, but that's good ambition from Ireland, but they really need to, this is probably what they undid themselves in Scotland, is getting into positions and not scoring.
See Jackson pointing to Zebo, almost a decoy. The carry's good, the leg drive, the person you want coming around the corner. CJ Stander, the man who delivers that extra leg drive, and then the forwards go route one, just held up there. Brilliant intervention from Giraldini at the end when it looked like Cian Healy had wrestled his way over.
And Ireland deciding to go for the scrum rather than what would have been a very pocketable 3 points, you would have thought. They fancy themselves in this area, and here comes the shove. Already Italy's defence under a lot of pressure. Cittadini working hard to try and repel it, but the ball's out, and Ireland once more threatening Italy's try line. Gathered in by Scannell, the Munsterman on his debut. Another Munsterman, Murray, finds O'Brien. Venditti doing what he can to try and repel this green tide, but it's getting harder and harder. Stander waits. Furlong latches on and tries to add his muscle as well. And now Scannell, late replacement for Rory Best. Murray! Not quite. O'Brien's having a look.
Offside.
Italian penalty conceded against McLean.
Very narrow, the Italian defence. Ireland might need to look one pass wider.
Jackson, Henshaw, Zebo! Oh, if he has got that down, it's a wonder score. He almost put it down behind his back. It'll need a television match official to confirm.
Kidding.
The initial looking at it in real time is that he may have lost it going over the line, but we're going to have a look here.
We'll go back for a penalty. We're going back for penalty. Sergio, please tell them any more offsides. Let's go to the bench. 2 more.
Angelo Esposito, who comes across and drags him initially, and he's just lost control of it.
Just shows though, that ball that went behind the back of the forwards. If the forwards run a little bit more of a confrontational line,
no try with penalty.
All those defenders have to stay just a fraction longer, and that's the difference between Zebo scoring and not. just that lazy line that the forwards knew the ball was going to go behind their back. If they'd run and held the defenders, could well have been a try.
There's also one pass in that sequence that potentially just checked. I think Paddy Jackson would have just in the build-up, it just checked the run a little bit. And when you're talking about he misses that try by an inch, you're just talking about fine margins.
Stay onside.
He's only ever scored one Six Nations try, the one on his debut against Wales a few years back. He's looking likely to score his second here early on.
Stay left. The scrum's been good, stay.
And Ireland up for the scrum to ramp up that pressure on Italy in their front five.
Joe Schmidt alongside Simon Easterby, the forwards coach. 4 Six Nations for the New Zealander Schmidt since he replaced Declan Kidney. Once again, Ireland in a familiar position, pushing hard at the scrum underneath Italian posts. Murray again winds the clock, and again it's Stander, and it's another penalty, and Italy need to beware the yellow card there. Raining penalties at the moment.
Gorey might go to the bin if this isn't scored.
Jackson ball out wide and Earls will score. Italy under total pressure pretty much for the opening dozen minutes, and finally Ireland get the score they deserve, and it's scored by Keith Earls.
Well, eventually the dam had to burst, didn't it? It's just been wave after wave, and you can see how narrow they are. Good decision making. Could have been one or two different players that walked over the line there for the men in green. Referee just warning Eduardo Gorey now. He's quite lucky that he hasn't still been yellow carded, regardless of the fact that the Irish got over the line.
Yeah, so when you have that onslaught and you have forwards carrying, and you have so many threats in the Irish back row and the Irish pack, the Italian team have to condense in around, and then you need your decision makers to spot the opportunity and then take it.
And the man who provided the assist, for those of you with fancy league teams, Paddy Jackson, now lining up the extra 2 with the conversion. Dash and a stretch for the try line. And it is 7 points, and the try for Keith Earls is a significant one. He's now scored in each of his last 4 tests, which equals his record, and also that of Dennis Hickey and Hugo McNeil. Great competitor from the 80s and 90s. It's not quite the Irish record, which currently stands at 5, but that's what Keith Earls will have in his mind when they play France in Dublin in a fortnight. He's now got 4 in a row. Restart gathered in by Devon Toner. Murray, plenty of height, great deal of distance. But, Toner, without really having to jump, got his arms on it first, but it was Esposito who lays it back for the Italians. Italy looking to play some of their own attacking cards for the first time in the match, and McLean links it on, and there wasn't a lot of time for Canna, but there was an offside.
Yeah, it's a sliced box kick, which meant that the kick actually didn't go 10 metres, and all those players that were stood in front of Conor Murray then aren't able to retreat outside. They get up, they start running towards where the ball's going to land, and the referee has no option but to give the penalty. Just needed another 5-10 metres on that kick, and then Zebo would have put all those forwards onside. There you go, there's the slice. Zebo would have put them onside, but they were all still within 10 metres. That's why the referee gives the penalty.
Paolo Canna. Remember, he was thrown in for his debut against Scotland 18 months ago in a World Cup warm-up when he was still an amateur. He was playing part-time for Roma a couple of seasons ago, in between being a policeman, keeping law and order on the streets of this city, and happiest for the time being to be a full-time rugby player. Oh, and that's a nice kick to get him going here in Rome. Italy respond well. Italy 3, Ireland 7. We've played a quarter of an hour.
Disappointing from the Irish point of view. It took them almost 11, 12 minutes of pressure to get any points on the board. Italy get 30 seconds and they get 3 points. I know that's something that Joe will be very, very annoyed with. Discipline was so important in Scotland last week, and that was a cheap 3 points.
A short, stubby one from Paddy Jackson. Italy read it well.
Ripped before the tackle.
Oh, it's been ripped away, and Scannell charges forward. Taken on by Furlong. He's a barrel of brilliance in the autumn tests. Dominant against Scotland in the scrum, as we've talked about early on. And O'Brien. There's some hamstring problems well and truly behind him now, and this is Henshaw. Late try secured, history in Chicago back in the autumn. Fullback is Rob Carney.
Regathered.
Needed to be watched as he was by Favreau. And once again, pitching their tent.
We'll stay here now.
On and around Italy's 22-metre line. And some brilliant evasive action as Favreau threw himself into the fight. Furlong.
Tackle roll.
This is Henshaw. CJ Stander trying against Italy last March in a very impressive display in Dublin. They scored a record 9 tries in this last season's championship.
Line speed's good from Italy, but it's all individual. If Ireland can just get a step on one of these players flying out of the line, a hole will open up for them.
Jackson behind Furlong to Henshaw instead. And nicely done by Heaslip out of the back door to get Henshaw again. Continuing to run questioning angles of this Italian defence, drilled these days by Brendan Fenter. They put a lot of effort into the defence, and it's really being tested here as Jackson goes on a little excursion all of his own, picked up by Heaslip. Another penalty on the way. Zebo neatly laid out to Stander, who scores. Try on the right wing, try on the left wing, and it's Stander who has the second, and we're not midway through this first half.
Starts with a brilliant offload from Heaslip just to create the forward momentum. As soon as Ireland get that, it's all about momentum, and look how Italy struggle to get back into the defensive line. Here's the offload, little step to the side to take the man. That forces other players to come in, and then out of the back door he's held those 2 defenders on the front foot. And now, if you can look into midfield, how slow the Italian forwards were to get back into position, means there's a big overlap on the outside.
Absolutely, and the second touch from Robbie Henshaw, and the skill from Simon Zebo again, and I know it's just a pass, it's going across 2 or 3 players, but it has to be very accurate. It has to be given and taken and passed within 2 steps, and it has to be on the money. You know, a simple skill done well will always get good returns from it.
That was a slappy old effort, and well, I've no idea, and I suspect he will have no idea how that ended up between the posts and over the bar, but they all can.
I think that's one for Johnny in the studio. He can talk us through the finer points of that one.
Been some fairly skillful footballers that have played on this pitch. I think Roberto Carlos would have been happy with that one.
The conversion of that try rather rolled between the posts like a bowl of spaghetti. It was all over the place. But anyway, Ireland have 2 converted tries as we approach the end of the first quarter of this match. Away quickly by Scannell. He was being hunted down by Favreau, who is a human dynamo. He will work his socks off in Italy's cause today. He may well have to. Ireland 2 away games to start this season's championship. Edinburgh and now Rome. Looking more familiar surroundings in a fortnight when, as we mentioned, France make the trip to Dublin.
Down, please.
Italy go to Twickenham in a fortnight.
It's a middle. Come here.
You can see on Keith Earls' face, he wanted that ball to stay in. It's a good attacking position from Ireland, and that's probably something they've tactically decided on.
Italian line out, overthrown, but they've been rescued by
Don't walk on,
an
please.
Ireland knock-on.
Okay. I tell you before. Okay. I tell you 6, 7. Yes, sir.
Leonardo Giraldini, first choice hooker today.
Keep to the
Been
left.
told that he'll share the shirt with Ornel Jaeger this season. Giraldini, the former Leicester man, now with Toulouse, and as Donica Ryan recovered from his knee ligament problem to replace Ian Henderson today.
It's often the hooker that gets the blame when a ball is overthrown, but if you saw that lift from behind, Cittadini just misses, hands right up the shorts, almost into the small of the back. So if the hooker's expecting the jumper to get to full height and he doesn't, it's not his fault.
Eduardo Gori taken on by McLean, one of the old stages, 86 cap. Got a try against Ireland 6 years ago. It's a fixture, by the way, that Italy won 4 years ago. It's a rare shaft of light in a fairly dim Six Nations history of late. They've got some work to do here, and there was the hint of the high about that from Gary Ringrose, but officials don't seem overly concerned by it, so on we go. And this is Giraldini, 34 now. Over 10 years since his Six Nations debut against today's opposition.
Yep, very.
Taken on by Benvenuti. Back involved again under Conor O'Shea. They like what Benvenuti adds in midfield. Canna and Gori, hopefully for them, their long-time halfback partnership. Gori again, a little chip over the top to no one in particular, and as hard as Padavoni worked, there was just too much on that for him.
I think unfortunately he saw something that his wingers weren't necessarily on the same wavelength as him. He's putting that in. There's space in behind Gary Ringrose and Simon Zebo are up there. Had somebody be running onto that ball, but that's where you need the combinations to start getting used to each other, and eventually under Conor O'Shea what he's hoping is that they will see that opportunity and there will be somebody running onto that ball when he throws it over the top.
Called by Devon Toner, really stepped up into the role since the retirement of Paul O'Connell, and the call was to the captain Heaslip, and off that secured set-piece ball Ringrose drove it up, and then again Stander. And Shaw, and just about the first misstep from Simon Zebo.
Just got too far ahead of himself, didn't he? He was thinking about what he could do with the ball, trapped out there on the touchline. Can he drop it onto his foot? Has he got room to work with it? There's the head goes up. Just drifting away from him slightly, the pass as well.
Come in, how many? 4, open.
Italy are shortening this lineup, having overthrown the previous one, and Parise is the banker ball.
Dropped it though, and he won it cleanly.
Off on the line out.
There's some concern about Sergio Parise's fitness at the early part of the week. He hurt his neck against Wales last Sunday night, but had been past fit to play in his 13th Six Nations, Parise, and his 57th championship start means that only the former Ireland international sitting in our studio as opposed to in the commentary box can play more starts. Brian O'Driscoll.
Excellent bit of play at that last line out by Toner. Saw that Parise was coming down with the ball a long way from his body, so just slapped one of the arms away, dislodged the ball.
And Ringrose finds Zebo, who is enjoying himself at the moment in Rome. He's going on one of his excursions again. Finding some space on this left-hand side. Ireland, wing patrolled by Angelo Esposito. Jackson waits, and then taken on by Henshaw again, still only 23, so much to look forward to in his Test career. And here's Stander. Already is getting through a ton of ball carrying, scored a try. Ireland are looking for a third. Played half an hour. O'Brien. Jackson. And here's the other try scorer, Earls.
Stay on.
McLean was doing what he could on the floor, but he had to give it up. And here comes another thrust, set up by Murray and Toner. And then Heaslip with, again, neat footwork to evade the oncoming Italian train. Furlong. Now O'Brien, and he's still going. Jackson. And now Earls, and he will run in for his second. And it's just a little bit too easy for all the defensive work that Italy have done this week. Ireland are unpicking the lock.
Yeah, they're punching very, very smartly in the game. The back row is carrying, but there's value to their carries. They're getting in behind the Italian team. They're condensing them in. Italy are always having to come back, and they're picking the opportunity really well. Again, getting the ball into Simon Zebo's hands, getting him one-on-one with people is where he's going to create value. And again, simple things done well. Good, crisp passing, seeing the opportunity, spotting it, and executing well.
He adds to his tally. Jackson, who is actually yet to win a Six Nation game that he started. And 5 penalties in a losing cause here in 2013. But he has started this match striking the ball brilliantly. 3 tries, 3 conversions. Ireland 21-3.
That was the opposite of what happened when Zebo didn't quite score. Look how they sit down the defender with a really good decoy line from Stander. Very confrontational. That just a moment's hesitation from the defender, and that creates the extra space on the outside. And then once the ball goes behind him, it's just that one more pass just to get it in the space. Really smart play from the Irish.
By the way, hearing that you may be hearing some disturbance on the sound coming from the microphone that's attached to the shirt of the referee, Glenn Jackson. So apologies if you are. I assure you that a whole posse of Italian technicians are doing what they can to sort it out. Conor O'Shea thinking very hard as to how he sorts this out. We're going to have a chat with Marco Bortolami in a moment, former Italian captain, down on the touchline to see what he's picking up as Gori tries to have a go himself, but we'll come back for the scrum. So let's hear what Marco's made of this this opening half an hour or so. He's with Martin down below us.
Marco, what do Italy need to do to get some sort of foothold in this game above just a more solid defence? What do they need to do to attack Ireland?
They need to control the ball. Lineup has to be better. The accuracy of the lineup has to be better to have a quality ball to attack from. Once they have the ball, they've been very lateral in the early stages, so they need be more direct and commit many defenders from the lineup, from the Irish defence, to create space on the outside. So they have to be better in the set piece, scramble line out, and be more direct with the ball in hands. You can't let the Irish team play with the ball because they're too dangerous.
There you go, Nick. That's all they need to do.
Roll! They need to sort out their scrum as well. They went backwards initially, but they draw the penalty. Ireland not pushing straight in the end. Short-term aim for Conor O'Shea and Mike Catt and Brendan Fenton is just to make them more competitive. They've got medium and long-term goals following the route laid down by Argentina. Long-term changing the systems, putting in a structure for sustained growth. But in the here and the now, Gordon, it's just about being as competitive as they can, and it's so tough when they're up against an Ireland team in this mood right now.
Absolutely, and I think that's kind of does sum it up. This is a 5-year journey for Conor O'Shea, and there is going to be days where it's just not going to click for them. But they've obviously looked like the defence is something that's really important for them today.
Good setup of the drive. They're a long way out. Now they have to keep their focus, get off that touchline, which they're working to do. You can see he's getting through onto the ball. They're going to lose that if they're not careful.
In fact, they get a penalty. Ireland bringing them all down illegally. Ben.
That's a really good refereeing. Heaslett was perfectly entitled to be there. He's just saying, once you get there, it's a maul. You can't pull it over. Quite often, that's not refereed.
That's the benefit of having an ex-player in there. When you come to, they understand what the player's trying to do. They're giving them every opportunity. But the rule is the rule. If you end up there, he's fought through. He's done really, really well. And that's just unfortunate, and you're going to be a penalty every time.
So 5-metre line out, and again, it's Sergio Parise and his mates all gather round and try and get the shove on, and they've got some decent momentum here, and this might take some stopping. Gorey calling for it's a penalty try.
Wow.
And Italy have done brilliantly to respond to the concession of 3 early tries, and they got that line out bang on, and they have a try as a result for collapsing them all.
He's absolutely right. We don't see it refereed enough again, so there'll be a lot of Irish fans at home who are saying, well, hang on, that's the first one. But the rules on a penalty try, if the referee thinks in all probability, bar the illegal act, a try would have been scored, it's a penalty try. Italy are running forwards there until players come in from the side and underneath the knees. He's within his rights to go under the sticks. The problem is, we don't see every referee being quite as strict.
Yeah, and you can see Glenn Jackson using his depth of wealth of knowledge from when he was in the at the front of those driving mauls, using in there. But everybody knew that was going over the line, and it was cynical by Ireland, and he's refed it very well. And
that's a yellow card as well for Donica Ryan, who's clearly the man who's been picked out as the reason for that collapse maul, and it's a costly penalty.
Again, the referees are told if you can identify the player that commits the illegal act, you have no other option but to yellow card them. So he's done that completely by the book. It makes it a little bit more interesting now from a neutral's perspective, certainly. How will Ireland deal with this?
And also maybe Ireland have actually undone themselves for all the pressure they were putting on Italy, maybe forcing penalties, that he's penalised the next penalty, which happened to be Ireland's.
Start gathered in by Venditti. Clattered over for the try that put them ahead against South Africa in November up in Florence. Historic win for Italian rugby. And this is a steepling test. I thought initially of Padovani, but in the end it was Parise.
Easily in front of the kick.
Has it been done for offside there? An Ireland penalty, which Paddy Jackson will dispatch into the blue seats, and they'll launch an attacking line-out, looking for what would be the first try-scoring bonus point in Six Nations history. 4 tries, and this season, as I'm sure you're all aware by now, you will get an extra point.
5.
Now Scannell. Taken by Heaslett. Scannell playing because Rory Best was poorly yesterday. Heaslett captaining because of that, and now he's on the ball.
They can shift off the side there, the blue shirts will all get lost. There they are, there they go now, if they can edge it forward without stopping. Referee telling the 9 to use it.
Have to pick it up and go now with Stander, which he will happily do. Try line comes into view, and there's a moment of history. For the first time in the Six Nations, a team will gather an extra point for scoring 4 tries, and it comes as a result of the second in this contest, scored by CJ Stander.
CJ's ability to get his feet and keep it underneath him is incredible. And we see Ireland have been very, very ambitious. They've gone for them all, player down. They're still backing themselves. They're showing great confidence in that. But this is CJ. When he hits contact, normally players will go to ground there. His ability to take that next step and get the drive and give a target for players to come in and latch on and drive them over. It's an incredible asset when he's able to carry like that in traffic.
Well, the silence and the respect paid to Jus van der Westhuizen would have been an emotional moment for him before the match. He was actually handed his first Bulls jersey in South Africa, in Pretoria, back in 2010 by Just. And within half an hour of this match kicking off, he's got a couple of tries for his adopted nation, Ireland. Between the posts, another 7-point score, and Ireland lead by 28 points to 10.
Yeah, as Gordon said, it's about almost getting the defender to show his hand and commit to you. He gets his legs a long way back, but then just slips out of it. But because he hasn't got too much forward momentum, the tackler can't use that momentum against him, get him to floor. He just stays up, rides the tackle, and then he accelerates once he's half through.
Safely into touch. By the way, we'll round up all the best bits from this second weekend of the RBS Six Nations tomorrow night here on ITV. Chris Robshaw is with us in the studio, 10:20. Some of the highlights from Wales, England and France, Scotland as well, those matches to come. And week off next weekend, Championship back in a fortnight, when we'll have 2 more games. On Saturday, Ireland against France in Dublin, and on Sunday back to Twickenham for England against Italy. They'll be making the trip to London. Now won by Marco Fuser. And Italy again looking to enjoy a little bit of ball time. They really haven't had enough in this match so far, taken on by Parise. Gave some thought to retirement before Conor O'Shea was given the job, but he's been reinvigorated by O'Shea. This is Favreau. He's fit to run again after an ankle injury kept him out of the opening weekend. Driven up by Geraldini, Italy's most capped hooker. And Canna having very little space to manoeuvre in at the moment. Henshaw tried to get his boot on it, but it's still Italy's ball to use with Padovani. And now Lavotti. Gorey, McLean, Benvenuti providing the link. And again, it's Favreau. Heart and legs and determination. Here's Esposito. Gorey flicks it back neatly and clipped over the top by McLean, but to nobody in particular. And a promising position comes to naught.
That's a poor end. There's some good carries in all of that. Parise with a double carry went himself, and then when everyone went over the top of him, got back to his feet and went again. Favaro on the wing ran a really nice flat line to get past Zebo early. Here it is. Zebo with the despairing tackle just to bring him down, but they're in behind, and then now when they're on the front foot, that's when they need the accuracy that's just not quite there.
Once again it was Parise underneath it, and this is Maxime Mbanda, born in this city, very much part of Italy's future, the Zebre flanker. Esposito. And Geraldini. Italy searching for a little bit of fluency as this first half in Rome draws to a conclusion. Picked up low by Canna. McLean and Benvenuti combining to find Padovani. Canna again, who's tall for a fly half. He's 6'3", willowy number 10. This is Venditti. Takes some stopping, 6'2", over 17 stones. Got some backs who can do the business. They like what they're developing, particularly the age range of this squad. But the Irish tackling was so good, particularly from Heaslip. But Luke McLean in the end was forced to hold on to the ball too long.
We were talking earlier, what are Italy going to take out of this game? Conor Shea's going to look back at probably the last 5-6 minutes when Italy were in possession of the ball. Now, they finished it by giving away a penalty, but they were comfortable on the ball. They were going through their processes and their phase play and starting to get comfortable on the ball. And that's what Conor is good. He's going to find the silver lining everywhere he can.
The area they need to shift it up now is to pose more problems for the defenders, so that defenders have got multiple things to think about. Do I tackle this guy or this guy? At the moment, it's almost just one out, and if you just stay square, keep your defence in line and make your tackles, you're going to solve the problem against Italy.
Ball overthrown, and it's picked up by Favreau. So a rather untidy end to a first 40 that will more than do Ireland. The disruption of losing their captain, Rory Best, before kickoff hasn't affected them overly. Keith Earls with a couple of tries, CJ Stander with a couple of tries. They've got a try bonus point already. Italy with a penalty try, the best that they can offer so far, but at the break, it's Ireland with a very comfortable pillow. Italy 10, Ireland 28.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Lining up this season, Frank Lampard, OBE there, gold medalist Sam Quek with the #1 record holder. It's time for action. New games, new signings, and a brand new fixture.
A World Career Pinnacle.
A new series of Play to the Whistle. Set a reminder now.
What is left when strategy turns to chaos? When stone shatters? What is left when friends fall one by one around you? What is left but honor?
For Honor. Out February 14th at Asda. PS4 for the players.
From the sea, where one walks, many follow. Wherever you run, they will be there.
They're your Royal Marines commandos. It's a state of mind. You may already have it. Search Royal Marines.
Have you seen what the gaffer's done with his free £30 bet from Betfred? He's gone for a few upsets.
What's he know?
What do I know?
Sign up online or on your mobile today and get £30 in free bets when you stake just £10.
You'll need a bigger deposit.
I'll need to win the lottery. Or live in a shoebox. Mum and Dad have offered to help, I just don't want them using up their savings.
Don't worry, they can use their savings as security for your deposit and get them back with interest in 3 years if you keep up your payments.
I will. Our family springboard mortgage is one of the many ways we're helping first-time buyers. Let's go forward.
An irritating itch is hard to ignore. And it can be caused by your powerful antiperspirants. Introducing new and improved Dove Men Plus Care with 48-hour sweat protection and Dove's 1/4 moisturizer technology. Especially created for men, is tough on sweat, not on skin.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Jackson ball out wide and Earls will score. Zebo neatly laid out to Stander, who scores. And now Earls, and he will run in for his second. For the first time in the Six Nations, a team will gather an extra point.
Ireland very comfortable at half-time, 28-10 up. We've been talking about Conor O'Shea and Italy and this being a long-term project. That was a bit of an ominous first half for them, wasn't it?
It does. It looks like one team's having a team run and the other one is just fighting for anything they can get. That's dangerous. That's at least quite ominous. I think you look at the way that Ireland are receiving ball on kick-off, they're getting to the 22 to where they want to go, they're then kicking how they want to kick, when they want to kick, they're getting that back. If they're not, they're right where they want to be, whereas Italy constantly feel like they're just getting rid of pressure just to get more, just get rid of it just to get more. And I think it's going to be tough for them to turn that around. It's like one team, look for Paddy Jackson at number 10 for Ireland, he's getting to choose passes, choose when he comes in, go left, go right, and it's always left looks good, right looks good. We could go short here, that looks good, long looks good. Whereas when Italy get it, none of the options look good. And I think that needs to be turned around somehow, bit by bit, everyone putting in their little bit of effort.
An inverse of Murrayfield, where they were half asleep, it seemed, for the first half. They really looked like they meant business from the start, the Irish.
Yeah, they've been much more clinical. I think Keith Earls is the benefactor. He's runs in an easy score from a good pass from Paddy Jackson. But it was all to do with Ireland and their cog play. It's a keep on going of just tiring the Italian defence. If you just look at Cian Healy, the way he squares up at the very end, whether he's trying to get out of the way of Paddy Jackson or whether it's a great line, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But Venditti has a little look at him and it creates the overlap out wide. And Ireland have just been breaking Italy down, Lawrence, by just bringing them through the phases.
Yeah, I think clearly they've worked hard on that phase play. The pace of the breakdown, I think, is good for them. And Italy's defence is very narrow. They've clearly been running those holding lines in training, to try and draw in that defence. Lovely work from Jamie Heaslip and Keith Earls and CJ Stander being the beneficiaries.
Yeah. So 2 for Earls, 2 for CJ Stander as well then.
Yeah, he's been outstanding throughout the whole of European rugby this season. A real ball carrying machine. And again, Heaslip does some wonderful work here, just running a holding line and then lovely little in and then outside break, offload, which keeps the move going. And I think it's just the speed of the ruck that they're able to deliver. I'm sure Brendan Venter's been working on Italy's defence, but it's just getting too narrow because they're having to work so hard through the phases.
I just love the finish here as well from Simon Zebo. He's not afraid of coming off his wing and playing first distributor, and that's a lovely flat pass. Just takes out 2 defenders out wide to Stander, who's held the width. I think that's where Ireland struggled last week in the width. This week they're really creating lots of it themselves.
This is too easy, isn't it?
Well, I think what Conor O'Shea said is that we've got to be a side that don't give away points easily, and when they look at this try, it's just too soft. Yes, CJ Stander gets himself in a good position. Yes, he's got strong leg drive, but I'm afraid the tight forwards there and the fly half have got to do better than that.
So second half, what does he say, Conor O'Shea? I mean, the game's gone, let's be honest, hasn't it? Does he say, we've only ever been a 50-minute team, let's try and prove that in the second half we can get maybe some sort of parity at least?
It's very clear that every minute up until now has to make the next minute better. So whatever they've gone through to this point has to mean that when they start the second half, it's better. If they start working on that sense, then the future, as Mike Catt said in the stuff we were looking at before, then anything's possible. At the moment, the problem is that like we're looking at with what Lawrence was saying, it's starting here and then it gets narrower, more stress, more difficult. They've got to learn lessons quickly, understand, connect to each other much more as one. At the moment, it just looks like it's just a struggle for them out there. So whatever's happened up to now, they have to look at the second half as a golden opportunity. Okay, the game might be tough now, but just get out there, make it work. Somehow find a way, make it work. That's why it's not gone for them in the future. It may be gone for this result, maybe. For the future, this could be awesome for them.
OK, in 5 weeks' time, Ireland entertain England in Dublin in what could still be a pivotal game in this year's Six Nations. And if you fancy being in the crowd for that one, have a watch of this.
Here's your chance to be £30,000 richer and be at the Ireland v England match. You and 3 guests will bag tickets to the final fixture of the Championship as Ireland take on England in Dublin on the 18th of March. The prize includes travel and 4-star accommodation. And don't forget, we're also throwing in £30,000 tax-free cash. For your chance to win, text Rugby to 65433. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Go to the website. Entries cost £2 or post your name and phone number to RBY 2017, PO Box 7558, Derby, DE1 0NQ. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 10 a.m. on the 27th of February, and you must be contactable on the 6th and 7th of March. Good luck.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Kevin will be the first in his family to go to university. He'll tell you first when he gets his place.
Well done, Kevin.
Amy loves chatting. You'll get her to do it in Spanish. And one day Tamika will teach her own kids about kinetic theory. She'll remember this class, and you. Make a difference to their future and yours. Apply now and you could get a £25,000 tax-free training bursary. Search Get Into Teaching.
Morning, it's another pure grey morning. Don't know what the day is holding, and I get up right when I walk right into the path of a lightning. Towards the walk with gritty, but I just wait by time they see you jump on that lightning ball.
We've been fed a lie that hard work is enough. We use something more powerful. Creativity. It starts new religions, defies the status quo, reinvents routine. When we unleash our creativity, that makes all the difference.
I am the master of entertainment. Only I know how to avoid recordings clashing.
Take back control of your entertainment. Record 6 shows whilst watching another recording with the new Virgin TV V6 box.
Strength, size, power. These are the things a man needs to play rugby. And you have none of these, Williams, they said. But they were wrong. It was the size of his heart, the power of his ambition, the strength of his character.
Borrowing cash with our credit score. First offer that accepted us, we nearly took it.
We panicked.
Luckily, we also tried 118 Money. They guarantee you up to 5 days to shop around. With them, I could get the best deal for us.
You are not alone. We are alone.
Zoinks! Mummy! Turn left, right now!
Wow! Can I help?
We heard you give rewards to some customers.
That's right. As a reward current account customer, you can get money back from the types of places you like to shop. And eat.
Man, that was delicious. Rugby. Yikes! Run, Scoob! Goodbye.
Nice work, guys.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you?
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Team's out, but Joe Schmidt presumably irritated by giving away a penalty try in particular.
I think Ireland want to nil Italy this half. I think that'll be their prerogative. But I think Italy, as we were saying in here, they should be looking to keep the ball. Why not pick up, as Lawrence said, why not pick up their own bonus point in this half? You know, keep the ball, see what happens when they look after themselves and stop worrying about everyone else.
Yeah, I think a signature from an Irish perspective is just to keep on going. Being, clinical nature, a big signature of Joe Schmidt's era, both at Province in Leinster and with Ireland, is that they get into try-scoring areas, they take their chances, and they didn't. They did that to some effect last week, but it was too late against Scotland. They've been really good in that first half, more of the same.
Okay, let's rejoin Gordon Darcy, Ben Kay, and Nick Mullins.
Italy have made a change at the start of the second half in the front row. Lorenzo Cittadini has been replaced by Dario Chiellini, back in an Italian shirt for the first time in a year, and he was part of that lifting mob there. Ireland scrum, just one area of dominance for the visitors in that first 40 minutes. Luke McLean didn't get the best contact on that, and it just brings Jackson and Ireland back onto them immediately with Carney. He's tackled by the new man, Chiellini. This is Gary Ringrose, 22. First time this season that we're enjoying his mercurial talent in the Six Nations, and a little jinking run drawing the first penalty. That change, Ben, at tight head prop, Cittadini for Chiellini.
I just think Cittadini has struggled getting around the field now, whether that's because he's done so much scrummaging, he's been under so much pressure there, or whether it's the 6-day turnaround from last week. Not the ideal start for the Italians. Decision going for resting the arms past the ball first and then using the contact to come back onto the ball. You can't do that. You have to support your own body weight at all times and go straight for the ball. Can't put your hands past it, and then as the hit comes in, scoot back onto the ball.
Ball being thrown into the Irish line out by the debutant, the Munsterman, Niall Scannell. Settled quickly into his new environment, we're hearing. Brought his Munster form with him, and he's at the back of that van as Italy trying to decant enough blue shirts there to stop Ireland. Hard work from Giraldini to make life difficult for Conor Murray, more than difficult. They've won it back.
Stay.
It's a feature of the first half that Italy weren't keen to go for lineouts. They were happy enough just to reset the defensive line as high up the field as they could and see what Ireland could do with ball in hand. With ball in hand, they scored 4 tries in that first 40 minutes. Canna doing what he can to stay on the dance floor. Venditti up in support. Once again, Italian spade work to get out of the 22.
Stay onside. Stay here. Stop.
Hoisted high by Padovani, the fullback. But once again, you can see that the Irish threat isn't long in coming back at them with Carney once more. Ireland's most capped fullback now. Overtook Gerben Dempsey back in November. Murray to Jackson. Johnny Sexton not far away now. The calf injury isn't stopping him running around anymore. May well feature against the French in Dublin at the end of the month. We'll see. Jackson has played well enough in this match in Rome, however. Here he is again, linking up with Henshaw, and neatly done to release Ringrose. Ireland debut against the Canadians in November. First try against the Wallabies at the Aviva Stadium. A man of some potential. Again, it's Carney.
Onside.
Now Henshaw looking to cotton on to the kick, but Padovani had read it, but Henshaw snags him. And McLean, who took some steps backwards and fires it long. Now, you get a good sense of the flow of the match sometimes, Gordon Darcy, if you look at which team's having to make the most tackles. Top 5 tacklers last weekend at Murrayfield in terms of work rate were all Scottish, which told its own tale. The top 9 tacklers in the first 40, all Italian. Niall Scannell, the top Irish tackler, with 5, but there were 9 Italians ahead of him, all having to tackle more.
That's the flow of the game. It's Irish possession, carrying it and being very miserly with it and holding on to it for long periods of time. Big difference this week is they're getting the points at the end of it.
Donica Ryan is back on with us, by the way. He was yellow carded as Italy scored their penalty try in the first half, but Ireland back to a full complement, and here goes Earls. One of two Irish players hunting down a Six Nations hat-trick in this second half. CJ Stander's the other, and here's Heaslip captaining the side in the absence of Rory Best, who, if you're joining us late, didn't make it because of his dicky tummy yesterday, and Favaro, who just loves moments like that. Coming in hard.
Ball's been in play an awful lot of time in this first 5 minutes.
And Stander bursts through, looking for a hat-trick. And a moment of history for CJ Stander. Ireland's fifth here in Rome, and a hat-trick for him in Irish green.
He's such a potent ball carrier. Really good. I was just saying how long the ball had been in play in the first 5 minutes. That creates fatigue amongst the big forwards. And Stander, running at full tilt, picks one of those gaps that just opens up off. Lovely inside offload, narrowing up the defensive line, creating extra blue shirts that have to come in. And then, as he comes round the corner, he just accelerates between two players that go out of the line thinking they've got their men hit, and they both choose the wrong one. Stander effectively walks himself over the line. Really good score, coming from deep, round the corner late, hidden behind the breakdown.
You can see Luke McLean, mate, as you said, that sustained pressure, bad decisions under fatigue, and that's exactly what that was. Second defender, look, eyes in, steps in on Murray, and that's not a man you want to give to be tackling at a 30-yard run into the try line.
Apart from one very scruffy conversion, which still went between the posts, Paddy Jackson striking the ball beautifully, and the first hat-trick for Ireland in the Six Nations since Brian O'Driscoll got three against Scotland 15 years ago now, 2002, 15 years ago, and Italy making more changes. 19 is George Biaggi, and Dries van Schalkwyk is making way, as is Leonardo Giraldini, the hooker. So Ornell Jaeger on with us, Conor O'Shea, Mike Catt, Brendan Fenton doing what they can to put their fingers in the dam.
Tactically very strange from Italy, because I don't think they're fitter than Ireland. I think Ireland are the fitter side. They've had a shorter turnaround in terms of rest days from their last game, and yet they spent the first 5 minutes of the game kicking the ball and leaving it on the field while they were defending in their own half. They didn't win that kicking battle, and they paid the price.
So they've done that's effectively what Scotland did to Ireland last weekend, but the difference, they were preventing Ireland from getting go forward. Scotland are obviously, it's admirable, they're putting themselves under pressure, they want to get better, but at some stage you kind of have to make on the field decisions and go, they need to get the ball off the field.
Ireland change. Craig Gilroy, one Ulsterman, deputising for another this weekend. He's on the bench instead of Tommy Bowe, and Gilroy coming on for Robbie Henshaw, which we're hearing is tactical, Gordon. So how do we expect that back line to realign?
I think Keith Earls has gone out to 13, and we know that Gary has played this position in the November internationals. He did very, very well. Asked to do a big job at 12 and did it very well.
A lot of pressure. Padavani couldn't collect the bouncing ball. It'll be an Ireland scrum.
Good one. It's a cracker. 13.
Just exploring whether they can hold the defence, create that space out wide. It's not on, so as they've done at other times through the game, just nudging it through the gap, and they're given a freebie by a fumble in the backfield.
Here's another Italian change. Michele Campagnaro, the Exeter midfielder, replacing Tommaso Benvenuti. It's not been Benvenute's day. Campagnaro, a dozen Six Nations games now. He's still waiting for his first win. It's going to take something extraordinary to end that run this afternoon for him. It has been fizzing for the Chiefs this season, though, in the Aviva Premiership, and he looked good when he came on against Wales last weekend. So let's see what kind of attacking threat Campagnaro can offer. Conor Murray, 50th Test start. And once again, Italy's defence being asked questions by Earls, who's looking for a hat-trick of his own, and Campagnaro's first job is to beat Ringrose to a bouncing ball.
A little bit of Joe Schmidt detail there. Zebo runs down the blind side, which drags those defenders that would have been covering that, just thinking that he might be having a snipe down the blind. That creates just a little bit of extra space over the top for the little chip.
Followed by the hat-trick man, CJ Stander. First run for Gilroy, and Earls running into Favreau in midfield, which tends to end most journeys. Eduardo Padovano, who's picked out as a player as real potential by Conor O'Shea this week, but he's under so much pressure in this game.
Stay on, ball not out.
Time is the most precious of commodities, and Italy at the moment being allowed very little by Ireland. And this time it's the left-footed option of McLean. Shifted into midfield these days with Padovani at fullback. Ireland's fullback is Rob Carney. There was the hint of the forward about that, but it was asking too much anyway of Craig Gilroy.
I think Italy asking a lot of themselves again, keeping the ball in play. You've seen a big funny with the chips, when you line up for that, it's oddly enough the pass to Keith Earls actually turned out to could have been a better option in that. A little bit of fortuitous, gets the toe in there. The almosts, but it's almost hard to watch from Italy, keeping the ball in that and putting themselves under that much pressure.
Cian Healy's just a second test start in 16 months draws to a conclusion. Jack McGrath, who's been more often not the first choice in the #1 shirt, wearing 17 now, but he's on. First time he's been sprung off the bench since the World Cup quarter-final against Argentina. Jack McGrath, part of now this Irish 8.
9!
Conor Murray doing what he can to climb legally over the garden fence, and driven on by Venditti, who is a handful when he gets going. Gorey coming around the other side, the sidestepping Padovani. Canna, and this is Campagnaro. Hopefully just beginning to set off a few sparks of their own. Tackle affected by Jack McGrath. And now Mbanda. Just a rise in the volume. A rise in the Italian volume around the Stadio Olimpico for the first time in a while, but that's quickly snuffed out. Gilroy on the floor, but Italy have it back. Ireland not getting enough numbers to the ball. More defensive work. Parise chipped over the top to Maxime Mbanda. On the stretch, Canna. This is Venditti. Trying to win here in 2013. They're a long way from winning this one, but giving it what they can, and it's been lost forward. Ball came off an Irish hand. I think it was Gary Ringrose with the tackle, and that's the reason that Craig Gilroy is frustrated in his charge for the try line.
A lot better from the Italians, able to get some momentum on it, some good carrying, particularly some of the back rowers. There's the final hit coming in, just coming off the shoulder.
Again, the Italians, they just look so tired by the time they're anyway creating any sort of an opportunity. They look like the resources, the energies just don't seem there when they have any sort of a sniff of being able to take an opportunity.
Time on. Knock on, scrum.
That's how the Italians started. That's how they're looking now. Conor O'Shea has brought on 4 of his 8 replacements. And, Ireland are making another change as well. It's like John Ryan, the Munster tight head prop. It's coming on for Tyke Furlong. And there's John Ryan. About to add to just 45 minutes of Test match rugby experience so far. Off the bench against Scotland, and this is his 3rd cap. Another who'll be hoping to bring his excellent provincial form with him. It's been standing for Munster this season. lining up to the left. Canna. And Venuti bringing the skipper onto the ball. Jamie Heaslip, part of the tackling squad. George Biaggi doing what he can to get over the line.
Only advantage.
Italy will have the scrum from the knock-on, playing the advantage. Canna. Playing, linking up with Campagnaro. Ball spat out, cleared up by Gorey, and then rather thrown away by Canna, who I suspect knew the penalty was still on, and that's what they'll come back for.
Did under pressure, aren't they? First time really that we've seen Ireland's defensive line lacking in numbers, equal numbers against the blue shirts in front of them. So they go to a blitz defence, hinging hard from the outside, trying to stop the ball getting into those outside channels, and they win the race. Handling of the Italians not quite as crisp as we saw it from the Irish team in the first half.
You see Italy potentially wrestling a bit of momentum in their favour, but again, it's the end result, and unfortunately, that's the reality of sport. There has to be the end result. You need the points on the board, or at least to be contesting in that area. This is all very good, but it's very ineffectual at the moment.
Very controlled by Parise, and they draw the penalty. Gorey takes it quickly, and those players not 10 metres away have to let Gorey run up to the 5-metre line, and Italy pressing once more. Watery evening Roman sunshine at the Stadio Olimpico. Picked up initially by George Biaggi. Left for Gorey, Parise.
Turned it over.
And the turnover completed with the clearing kick from Conor Murray.
Big call from Gorey to tap and go, but he makes the yards. Probably their most potent threat has been the line-out drive, so he had to get near to the line. He does that. Good shots coming in, and there's the steal from Parise in the tackle.
At the back here, Gassi.
He'll be dining out on that, won't he? The day he stripped Sergio Parise of the ball.
More changes. Simone Favreau has been invited to make way for Bram Steyn. Steyn now on. Ringrose putting the ball some width to Earls, and now Zebo, the two wingers combining. Leading the chase was the fullback Rob Kearney.
We have the benefit of being up here and looking down, and you could see Jamie Heaslip talking in, actually asking for the box. Paddy Jackson absolutely overruling that. Saw the space out wide. That's something you go into, a simple pattern, get it to the edges, the 15 comes up, put it down the channel, and you've got 3-4 players chasing it in. Real good endeavour, and nice to see from Ireland.
This is Ornel Jager. His place as a starter, the Gheraldini, but he's on now. First Albanian born to play in the Six Nations. Came to Italy as a 9-year-old. It was a little bit of an unholy mess.
Well, that comes from the last line out that didn't function properly. We saw a player jumping across the line out. They didn't get the lift on Parise. So now there's a bit of nervousness from Jager. He doesn't want to throw the ball over the top. They try and help him out with the sneaky one round the front, get barreled into touch. So all those little bits of inaccuracy is what's costing Italy a foothold to get any sort of momentum back into the game. They've gone from an attacking line out to defending on their own 22.
Ireland quickly off the top via Tona. Once more inviting Stander to put his foot on the accelerator, and Ringrose did nicely to pop that up, as did McGrath to find Earls, and Ireland recycling the ball brilliantly. Oh, Kilroy almost. He kept the ball in play, and it looked like his foot was just out as he gathered it, but what an effort. The ball was forward as well, I think. But apart from that, apart from a foot in touch and a forward pass, it was not far away.
That's brilliant, because the best place to attack is through the same hole that the other guy was running. And look at this offloading game. Lovely angle. Someone directly in behind, because there's no defenders there, so they keep attacking where the defender who makes the tackle should have been. And then once they narrow up that defensive line, then they start looking to the wide channels, and it's frantic scramble defence from the Italians. But fortunately for them, the ball's not quite on the money.
Yeah, I think that's a principle that is quite a lot of rugby is built on in New Zealand, about when a player gets through a hole, that everybody floods into it and you're alive to the opportunity. It's also the momentum now with the Irish team, and you can just see it from the Italians. The life seems to be sucked out of them, and Ireland are really going for the I suppose going for the jugular.
That's for Dario Chistellini, former Gloucester tight head prop, who took a blow in the middle of all that. But it's been CJ Stander's afternoon so far. First Ireland hat-trick in a Six Nations since Brian O'Driscoll against Scotland in 2002.
What are we doing?
It's been much more than a one-man effort, but he's very much been at the centre of the motor.
A little bit of everything in that little run of tries, isn't there? First one was fairly easy, but the second one, in traffic, controlled his feet, didn't overbalance himself, drove his way to the line. That one, there was an opportunity, broken defensive line, so he accelerates through the despairing tackles.
Lorenzo Cittadini is coming back on for poor old Dario Chistellini, who is clearly in a lot of pain. And Cittadini's on because Italy have to have a couple of qualified props in the scrum, and that's how Chistellini hurt himself.
Yeah, the boot just swings round of his own player, kicks him just below the knee. Sorry, just above the knee. Let's just hope that that's a dead leg rather than hyperextending his knee and causing more damage.
Keep it up. It's been bloody good.
Back in an Italian shirt for the first time in a year, and it's a painful end to it.
Bind! Sit! 2, 3, inch! Up. Lovely, Budash. Nice, John. Nice, Ireland. Let's go, lads. Both teams up. Reset. Bravo, Go, Jackie.
It's Maxime Mbanda underneath the head guard on the right hand side. Shouldered 26 tackles on his Six Nations debut last Sunday. He's one of those youngsters coming through that Conor O'Shea's pinning the future on. Athletic player, learning the game at this level. Gordon.
Yeah, Conor making some very interesting sound bites, and at the risk of a bad pun, Rome not being built in a day. With 20 minutes left on the clock here, it's going to tell you a lot about the mindset of the Italian players. Are they going to just give up the ghost the way they have done traditionally, or are they going to try and find a little battle somewhere along in the next 20 minutes to win? Because when you change takes it takes time. It's hard to do, but you make small changes incrementally along the way, and see can that lead to bigger things.
Andy Farrell on the left-hand side next to Joe Schmidt, an Englishman helping to lock Irish defensive doors these days. Stuart Lancaster working with Leinster this season, and Ireland with the change, you'll have noticed. Altan Delan
Walking round. Stay straight.
Devon Toner heading into the final quarter here in Rome. And Ireland penalised for walking around in the front row, not scrummaging straight, a decision that probably Jack McGrath was not entirely happy with, but it was the decision of Glenn Jackson.
Yep.
There's McGrath. One of Ireland's 9 tries last season in Dublin. He's got both of his test tries against Italy, by the way. Ireland at this point have got 5 here in Rome. 20 minutes to go. Gathered in by Mbanda. Italian changer, scrum half. Eduardo Gori making way for Giorgio Bronzini. And here he is. Putting some pressure on Gilroy. Took it well. This is Ryan.
Roll! Punch. Knock on, and the tackle. Stop.
As Gordon said, opportunities now. They've gradually edged their way over the halfway line. Now they've got an attacking platform. Really good take, wasn't it? Eyes on the ball, not distracted by the man backing into him.
So young James Tracy coming onto the field now. Another man called in late yesterday. These two hookers offer you something maybe a little bit different to Rory, and it's great for them to be getting this kind of exposure at this level. And in the context of the game, it's a great game to be coming into.
End of Niall Scannell's debut as an international rugby player, and an equally significant day for James Tracy, who's on for his Six Nations debut.
Sorry, Mike.
In the middle of Ireland's scrum. Lorenzo Cittadini back with us. And there's James Tracy. Flew in yesterday after Rory Best fell ill. He was quarantined, Best. He wasn't allowed to come to the captain's run, as it's called here in the stadium, and they left it as late as possible, but they flew Tracy over yesterday just in case, and here he is now playing in the game.
Sit! Use it!
Bronzini running to the right and taking on Campagnaro. The ball bounces up into the arms of Mbanda, but it went forward. Let's have a word with Brian O'Driscoll, who's watching this in the studio. You'll have sensed Ireland getting a little bit disjointed over the last 10-15 minutes, Brian, maybe.
That's the exact word I would have used, Nick. Since Sander ran in that third try, they haven't been able to get any continuity together. They haven't put phases together like they did in the first half against Italy. Tired them, worked them around the corner, and they're going to either give away line breaks or penalties. So they just need to gather their composure. It's important to build as many tries as you possibly can when you got your foot on the throat to the opposition, because you never know what's going to come later on in the competition. It may well come down to tries scored. So they really need to kick into fourth or fifth gear now and try and score another couple before the end of the game.
Well, there's the challenge, Gordon, to end this match as well as they started it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I had the pleasure of losing what would be a potential Six Nations Championship by scores, and we let in I think 2007. Italy came back, scored a couple of tries, which effectively decided the tournament. So that's probably something we haven't talked a huge amount about, is as well as the bonus point, it could come down to points scored as well, how important they will be or could be.
Stay straight.
It's, John Ryan getting back to his feet. You may well have noticed, by the way, Sami Panico, Italian loosehead, coming on for Andrea Lavotti. Panico, one of the new faces in this team, a week on from his Six Nations debut. And Ireland will try and just tie up these loose threads from a line out just outside the 22.
Great name, but you can see he was started at the angle, and then as the scrum went on, just continued round, went straight across under the rib cage.
The eternal puzzle that is the scrum.
Line out, flicked off the top by Delant, and then once again it's stand up. And by the way, that Peter O'Mahony isn't too far away, so Ireland's cupboard will be restocked before too long, perhaps in time for the visit of the French in 2 weeks' time, which that you'll be able to enjoy with us here on ITV. And here's the new man, Tracy, 25-year-old, 20-minute debut against Canada in the autumn. Now he's a Six Nations player. They're doing what they can to try and keep that ball off the floor. Panico was central to that, but Ireland again driving on once more with Delant.
Really interesting to hear Conor Murray, as I think it was Tracy, was held up, just shouting knee, knee, knee. If he gets his knee down, the tackle's completed. And you can't have a choke tackle. You've got to let go of the man, let him go to the floor. Alan, the exponents and the guys that brought in the choke tackle, very aware to the laws.
Miles again to Stander. How many times has Stander carried the ball in this match? 18 now for very nearly 50 metres. More than any other player. And we probably ought to mention the 3 tries he scored as well. Murray to Jackson. 2 halfbacks still with us. Ireland weaving neat green patterns, and Zebo was the end of that latest knot. Jackson once more to the new hooker, James Tracy. Jackson again, Ireland just popping it around, pinging it between each other. 6-7, Stander to O'Brien. 9 Murray to 10 Jackson, who goes for the boot and tries to invite his teammate Gilroy onto it, but it was taken by Venditti under some pressure. Oh dear me, that's a fairly industrial clearance off the right boot. Italy have no interest in kicking the ball out and taking lineouts in this match. Padovani, that's been lost, and it's picked up by O'Brien, who runs forward with some menace in his eyes. Heaslip, and that's nicely done by Gilroy, who will ease his way to the try line. And Ireland have half a dozen in Rome.
It took 67 minutes, but if you eventually keep kicking the ball, keeping it in field, and your defence is not functioning well, you will eventually give up a try directly or indirectly from that. Good hard running by Craig Gilroy. One thing he gives you is incredible pace. You see Sean O'Brien just carrying the ball, and the little offload. It's the small little things that make the difference.
Yeah, Sean O'Brien drags in defenders, which means Campagnaro comes in tight, but then he's desperate to get out wide. He just overcommits, allows Gilroy a little bit of a gap and a glimpse of some space on the inside. 2 players get disconnected. Got the quick back, who's just come off the bench, fresh legs on the outside. Just a slower player on the inside. Gilroy spots it. It's a great hit, and then the leg drive from O'Brien was good, and that's Campagnaro just shoulders facing out towards the touchline. As soon as the step's made, there's nothing he can do to recover.
Just the hit on Jamie, which was unnecessary. The ball had been passed, and he takes himself out and actually creates the, instead of, that's understanding in defence, and that's something Brendan Venter would be bringing into them and trying to explain to him, say, stay on your feet, stay on the line, stay attached.
Paddy Jackson, by the way, 6 from 6 off the kicking team. His team have scored the tries and he's converted them. Earls, who still hasn't given up hope of a Six Nations hat-trick of his own. Two tries in the first half. Gary Ringrose. Jared Payne, by the way, still recovering from a rather complicated kidney injury, which has given Ringrose his opportunity. Your thoughts on Ringrose, Gordon? We've heard lots of people's thoughts on him. What about you?
He's very, very impressive. Every time I see him, he gets better. And that's all you can be asking from a player at that age, that they're learning all the time. He's hungry, he asks the right questions, he understands rugby as well, and he has an incredible work ethic. And a really, really nice guy, which usually means he's going to go places.
Didn't apply to Ben, but you know, I'm sure it applies to Ringrose.
Never applied to you, Nick, either, but you're still doing the job.
Ringrose has got such balance, such a future.
Unplayable. Too many come back in.
A bit, he doesn't look like the biggest guy, but he puts himself about. His ability to read defences, to come up, make hits. I think that's been a really encouraging stuff from his development, from coming up through the academies, playing in with Leinster, getting his game time. Joe's talked about that he spotted this kid at schools, and there was no need for rushing him through, and we're really getting to see the fruits of it now.
Just look at that, Nick, the issue that Italy have had, everything in the second half camped down with Ireland having the possession battle won and the territory battle. It is very, very difficult to play if you've got neither. You can play without the ball, but you need to have the field position to go with it.
Bit of housekeeping that we need to bring you up to date with. Tommaso Allan is on for Carlo Canna, fly half for Italy, and a couple of Ireland changed as well in the meantime. Kieran Marmion, Connacht, scrum half, is on for Murray. And Josh van der Fleer as well has taken the place of Sean O'Brien in this scrum. There's Marmion. The previous Six Nations game was this one last season for Marmion. Since then he's become a Pro 12 champion with his province. Here goes Carney, tripping through the tackles up to the Italian 10-metre line. Here's Marmion, taken on by his clubmate Delan. Marmion again, who's a scuttling little ferret when he gets going. He's not the biggest bloke in the world, but that is beautiful from Ringrose. We talk about potential, we talk about the future. There he is, Gary Ringrose, with a little bit of silky magic for Ireland's 7th.
Thankfully, when I was talking about him in glowing references, I didn't give him the kiss of death. Did nothing on. How many our friends sitting in the studio will be probably maybe having a wry smile? We're talking about the first hat-trick since Brian's in France. One of the tries was scored very similarly like that. Just that little probing run, coming back underneath, see what's there, and just defenders switching off, and the acceleration and the ability to go is just fine. And great to see, really, really good to see that. That's just pure individual having a look.
Oh, it's a quality line that he runs. Dragged across, and then you think he's going to straighten up at any point, but he sees the space in behind the ruck, accelerates through, and then he just kicks out of that last gasp tackle and accelerates, slides in under the post.
Well, that was something else. That was something else. That may well be the memory that keeps us all warm as we head into this evening here in Rome. They've scored 6 previous tries, but my goodness, the talent of Gary Ringrose. This is Venditti, who continues to clatter and clobber.
Break open tackles with his face there.
Taken on by Jaeger. Italy ripping it back on their side. This has been a sobering afternoon for them after they were competitive for the first 40 minutes at least against Wales last weekend when they led at half-time. A little over 5 minutes to go at the Olympico. Once more, it's Mbanda. Ball's been lost. It's the first of 3 games in the RBS Six Nations this weekend, second weekend of it. And we will have all the highlights tomorrow night here on ITV, 10:20. Chris Robshaw is our guest in the studio. Championship back in a fortnight. Next weekend is a fallow weekend with 2 more games on ITV to look forward to. Saturday in Dublin, Ireland against France, and then Sunday, Southwest London. England against Italy, and Conor O'Shea and Mike Catt and Brendan Fenter have got a little bit of re-pointing to do to the brickwork here, because Simon Zebo and co have been chipping away at it for pretty much all of the game. And Zebo replaced by Ian Keatley. A big moment for Keatley, playing a test match for the first time since he contributed 14 points to victory here a couple of years ago.
Both ways.
No surprises, CJ Stander being awarded the man of the match there. Superb performance from him, not only the tries, but the work rate that he's got through, the amount of carries that he's made, putting Ireland on the front foot, not always getting the results, sometimes having to go the hard yards, but 20 carries for 50 metres. Impressive statistics. He's also on 9 tackles, which is equal top for the Irish team as well, so fully deserving of his man of the match.
This is Bronzini, hoping to have a lengthy career as an Italian Test scrum half. Parise once more doing what he can do. McLean, nicely done by Padovani, and that's very neat. This is Venditti, and Italy just beginning to find some fluency in the final 5 minutes, and that's very nicely done. Driven forward by Biaggi. And now Jaeger. Are they to send the home folks home with a warmish memory? Some resetting to do here with Padovani. Earl's all over him. Then Venditti. There's Bronzini going. McLean and Banda. Held up by the man of the match, CJ Stander. Parise still giving it all he's got.
Just need a little bit more torque on the field there. There was an opportunity just to put it straight through the hands, but because he didn't get the call from outside that the tackler was closing, he had to look up and see him coming. By that time, the gap shut.
Tommaso Allen, the later to try and test this Green Irish line. The only try they've conceded, a penalty try in the first half. Campagnaro. They've not lost the support of the locals. They're doing what they can do. Esposito. That's been lost by Biaggi. Frustration for Italy. And Gilroy having a sniff around, and Gilroy will get it, and he'll pin back his ears, and he'll have 2 tries. And Ireland will have 8 on a day they got their Six Nations Championship back on the road, and Italy were invited to consider more questions. Gilroy with 2.
Oh, sometimes everything you touch turns to gold. CJ Stander, man of the match. He'll be telling everyone, I'm also an excellent exponent of the crossfield kick. Slices it a little bit. Ball bounces perfectly for Gilroy. Runs onto it. Wrong foots the defenders. And an easy procession in under the sticks.
I like to refer to that as an agricultural boot in Ireland.
We'll be giving all the backs lessons in training next week.
Paddy Jackson's had lots of practice getting these conversions over, and this was the 8th try.
First to react, has to go digging, doesn't he? And again, the first to react might just be a story of the afternoon for Italy. Just a little bit, 1%, 2% slower than Ireland to everything.
Was the first to chase that kick, though. It's Parise again. Mental fortitude that he has to keep going, even at times like this. And Keatley on a little burst that comes to an end when he's stopped by Jaeger and McLean. Marmion. And here goes Ringrose, who's a Six Nations try scorer now. First of many, you will assume. Jackson. To Keatley. Marmion. Ireland playing with the advantage. And playing the final 30 seconds. And the ball in the end beating everybody out of play. Reflections on this Ireland performance, Gordon?
I think in the first half, efficient. I think there was obviously that word was hanging over them, or that phrase, the bonus point, was kind of hanging over them. They're not really wanting to engage in it. I think once they got that score, momentum maybe lost a little bit, and they've played the final quarter really, really well and really expressed themselves. So it's back on an upward momentum. So very positive all round.
Earls. Gilroy again, who's been industrious since he joined us as a replacement in this second half. Delan, ball nicely away to Ryan. Jackson once more. Van der Fleer involving himself. Not this time off the boot of Jackson, but swept up by Delan, and then he takes a couple of Italians with him. Here goes Marmion, and Heaslip to his left. McGrath. Is there to be one final Roman flourish for the visitors? Van der Fleer knocks it up for Ryan. Marmion again. Ireland looking to finish in the grand manner with Stander, who's not far away from a fourth try.
Leave it! Leave it! Ball's available, leave it!
Marmion will have it. Heaslip, who was handed the captaincy this morning when Rory Best pulls out weights to the left, but they go to the right. Earls flung over the top by Jackson, and Gilroy will have a hat-trick. One of the quickest hat-tricks in Six Nations history. He came on as a second-half replacement. He'll end the match with 3 tries to his name. And Ireland have run away with this in Rome today.
I think that phase of play probably highlights everything that's good about Ireland today. When it was good, it was really, really good. Just, again, basic skills here, holding on to it. Paddy Jackson waiting for the defence to make the decision and then picking the right, make the right pass. Is it short or is it going over the top to Gilroy? When Ireland carry the ball and they get in, getting that second offload is working really, really well for them, and it gets that killer 2 or 3 metres extra in behind the defence. The defence is then struggling to get back, and it's a really virtuous circle then of rugby. And I think as well, Ireland are actually finished the game minus one player. Rob Kearney left the field holding his arm, so hopefully nothing too serious for Rob.
I just think from an Irish perspective, you can only play what's in front of you, but I actually think they'll be a little bit disappointed it hasn't been a sterner test, just to give them that confidence of momentum, because it's all very well running in 60 points. They know they're not going to get this sort of weak opposition again in the tournament. They would have wanted to see a bit more from Italy.
When you talk about use of resources though, upward momentum, everything's green.
Graphic illustration of just how much work Conor O'Shea and his Italian boys will have to do, but Ireland, their Six Nations, back on track with France to come in Dublin at the end of the month. 2 hat-tricks, CJ Stander and Craig Gilroy. First try in the Six Nations for Gary Ringrose, surely the first of many, and a first ever Six Nations try-scoring bonus point. A little bit of history as Ireland end up with 9. Final score in the Stadio Olimpico, Italy 10, Ireland 63.
As Nick says, 9 tries for Ireland, and that's 9 successive defeats in the Six Nations for Italy as well. So all the analysis and reaction to come after the break.
ITV's coverage of the RBS Six Nations, sponsored by the new Peugeot 3008 SUV.
Have you seen what the gaffer's done with his free £30 bet from Betfred? He's gone for a few upsets.
What's he know?
What do I know?